Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of The Kick, a runner's podcast. I'm your host, Loggia. Today, we are going live for the NCAA Indoor Championships, long-awaited, highly anticipated. We've got some huge races on deck today. It's day one. And right now, we are getting things started with the women's mile. It is the prelim heats. This is heat one. A lot of superstars on the track right now. So we're going to get right into it. For those who are joining for the first time, welcome. For returners, welcome back. Basically, we are going to be live for the NCAA Indoor Championships. We can't show the race footage here. You know the deal with copyright, but I will be providing high-energy commentary for the next 4 hours of track and field action. And I will be engaging with your comments, so please feel free to leave a comment in the live chat. It will make this experience a lot more fun for both of us, and let's set a record for the Kick live stream today. Every live stream we've had, we've gotten more views and more audience participation, so let's top that again today. And we are going to get right into it now as the women's prelim heat for the mile. This is heat one. They're on the track. It's looking pretty tactical, as most of these tend to be. We're in Fayetteville, Arkansas for this one, as I am watching live. And please leave a chat with which event you're most excited for tonight. If there's anybody in particular we're rooting for, and I will shout them out. Heat one of the women's mile prelim is starting to pick up now. Every woman is still in this thing. It was a tactical start. I think you've got to watch out for women like Sadie Engelhardt of NC State, who's got a big kick. And we're going to wind things up now. And they're going into the final lap here, and it looks like 7, make it 6 women are really still in this thing. Sadie Engelhardt is in a good position. She will definitely qualify. Coming onto the home stretch, 4 women pulling away. And in just a moment, we will confirm who those women are. It's a biggest name here, Sadie Engelhardt, looking smooth, finishing there. They're already showing the replay of the race. Definitely started out tactical, as a lot of these prelims do. These athletes know that they've got a final coming up if things go well, and a lot of them are also going to be in the DMR later tonight. So energy conservation is super important. Welcome to anybody who has joined. If you are able to leave a comment in the live chat, we always love that here on The Kick. And it'll allow us to engage with the audience. It makes things a lot more fun for both of us. This is a special live edition of The Kick. Normally we are doing podcasts with guests from every corner of the sport. But today, it's the NCAA Indoor Championship, so we had to hop on the live to commentate and react. For those who can't watch or can't be there in person, all right, so official results for Heat 1 of the women's mile are about to come through here. Again, like I said, Sadie Engelhardt wins it. She's through. Then we've got Haley Burns of NAU was 4th. Basically in a tie to the 100th with Berlin Schutz of Nebraska. And then Bila Chepkiru, who is one of the favorites in this event of Oklahoma State. She was 2nd. So those are the top 4. They automatically will qualify for the finals. And then we had 5th, Chloe Forrester, and 6th, Kaya Robertson. They are temporarily qualified, but very unlikely that that will stand as we get into Heat 2 here. Like I said, those top 4 women get the big Q and are definitely in. Really nice running from Sadie Engelhardt of NC State. She's only a freshman, but she is certainly a threat to win this thing in the final tomorrow. If you're able to leave a comment in the live chat, please do so. Let us know where you're joining from, why you're joining, if there's an athlete in particular that you're excited to see, just a fan of the sport. And Heat 2 gets started here for the women's mile prelims. We've got a lot of the Oregon women in this one with Solana Yildiz, Wilma Nielsen, Juliet Cherubet. So probably not their favorite draw there, as it will be hard for all three of these ducks to get through to the final, but they also will be able to dictate things and maybe have a little more control over this race. The NCAA record holder in the women's mile is in this one. Riley Chamberlain set a new collegiate record just a few weeks ago at BU. And she is going to have the lead here, approaching just about 400 meters into this thing. Looking very relaxed. It's a little bit faster than the first heat, as expected, as all these women want to make sure that it's fast enough that they can bump out two women from the last heat and qualify for that final. Presumably 6 women in this second heat can qualify for the final. Top 4 will auto queue, and then it'll be the next 2 fastest from either heat, which in all likelihood will come from Heat 2. Heat 1 was tactical. It was 1 in 4:38 by NC State star freshman Sadie Engelhardt. Everybody still in this thing. Riley Chamberlain of BYU leading with the 3 Oregon women close behind. And they look ready to maybe try to make a move here. Oregon women looking a little bit like they're uncomfortable being behind here. It's definitely nerve-wracking being in these situations where everybody is still in the mix and you want to make sure you get that spot in the finals. Again, Riley Chamberlain of BYU is the current collegiate record holder in the women's mile, but Solana Yildiz of Oregon, who's in this race, held that record last year. So a lot of superstars in the NCAA for the women's mile right now. Hopefully the best can get through here, as we always like to see a battle of the best in the finals. But every woman here has a chance. If you qualify for the NCAA championships, you are elite, and you cannot count any of these women out. And we are going to see things heat up a bit here. 2 women are falling off the back. And the top 6 women are really pushing things now. All 3 Oregon women in that group. Riley Chamberlain as well. Again, this is a prelim heat, so everybody's just trying to get through to that finals, which will be tomorrow. But we do have some final events on deck tonight that will be really exciting, as we'll award some national champions. All right, final lap here for Heat 2 of the women's mile prelims. All 3 Oregon women looking like they'll qualify. BYU's Riley Chamberlain as well in a good spot. As we come down the home stretch here, Solana Yildiz and Wilma Nielsen high five as they know that they have moved on to the finals. Riley Chamberlain also very happy with that one, but it's Rosemary Longisa who actually takes the heat win there in the women's mile heat 2, asserting her role as a key contender for this championship tomorrow. So Rosemary Longisa wins heat 2 of the women's mile in the fastest time thus far, as they ran a fair bit faster than heat 1. Longisa wins in 4:28. Wilma Nielsen and Solana Yildiz of Oregon close behind. Unfortunately, Juliet, their teammate, will not qualify, but 2 Oregon Ducks going through to the final here. Riley Chamberlain of BYU, the current record holder in the NCAA for the mile. So certainly an interesting field. I wouldn't say too many big surprises there with who qualified for tomorrow's mile final. Pretty much the expected favorites will get through. Unfortunately, some incredible athletes do not get through, but that's just how it is at this level. All right, everybody, so we just wrapped up the women's mile heats for the prelim round, and we are going to get into the men's miles. Starting things off tonight with some prelims, but we've got some finals coming up soon after. We will have the women's and men's 5K finals, probably the marquee events of the night. But first we've got some more mile prelims. We'll have some 800 prelim rounds. Then we'll start getting into the finals with the 5Ks and, of course, the DMR to end the night. So they're just getting the men on the track here for Heat 1 of the men's mile. George Cootie of Virginia Tech will be in this one. He's had a phenomenal season, run some fast times. We'll see how he fares in the national championships this weekend. All right, we're just moments away from Heat 1 of the men's mile. Elliot Cook of Oregon will be in this one. Gary Martin of UVA. A pretty stacked first heat here. Hard not to be with the incredible talent that will be competing in this year's rendition of the men's mile. If you're able to leave a comment in the live chat, feel free to do so. We have not had anybody chime in yet, but that's usually what really makes these live streams interesting here on The Kick. Hearing who everybody is rooting for, predicting to win, and just anything track related. We recently had Jaden Keeler of the University of North Dakota, one of the big underdogs in this meet. She'll be competing in the 5K tonight. If you haven't heard her episode on The Kick, definitely check that one out. Really exciting to see somebody from a school that usually does not get represented at the national championships competing here. And the men's first heat of the mile is now underway. George Cootie leading early. Gary Martin pretty far back, but nothing to be worried about with how these heats tend to go. Not too many surprises in the women's prelim for the mile. Let's see if the expected favorites in the men's mile are all able to get through, or not. Sometimes that's what makes it so exciting, is you never know what will happen. All these men have a chance, especially with the way tactics can make things a little bit on the slower side at these meets. It leaves everybody in the race, and crazy things do happen. All right, so George Cootie of Virginia Tech leading this thing early. Looking very relaxed, as does the rest of the field. Gary Martin with his signature glasses, also looking relaxed, but in about 5th right now. Things are really going to turn up soon, about halfway through here at 800. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you're new here, I am Will. I'm the host of The Kick Runners Podcast. Today is a special edition where we are live commentating the NCAA Indoor Championships. We've got the men's mile heat 1 of the prelim round on the track right now. We can't show the race footage here. You know the deal with copyright, but I will be providing high energy commentary for the next 4 hours. And we are going to be having a great time. If you can leave a comment in the live chat, audience participation definitely makes things a lot more interesting. We've had some really fun back and forths in the last few live streams. Okay, Gary Martin going to take control of this thing now. Wants to make sure that he gets through to that final round. He's taking matters into his own hands. He feels like, you know what? If I make this fast enough, nobody can stick with me. So Gary Martin in the lead now, and that's going to force everybody to get a little bit anxious as the pace is picking up drastically now. Headed down the home stretch and about to enter the final lap. There's the bell. Gary Martin pulling away. Everybody just giving it their all to try to stick with him. This is going to be a fast final 200 meters. Gary Martin will not be caught. George Cootie in 3rd. He'll get through. Coming down the home stretch, it's Gary Martin. Thomas Diamond of Washington, a great miler school. He's in 2nd. George Cootie in 3rd. Thomas Palfrey in 4th. Those are your 4 auto qualifiers out of Heat 1 and the men's mile. Gary Martin looked good. He looked smooth, but so did Thomas Diamond of Washington. Continuing the legacy of great milers, the University of Washington. George Cootie led the first half of this race, and he'll get through in 3rd, representing Virginia Tech. Thomas Palfrey of Oregon, he takes 4th. And then our 5th and 6th place runners who are temporarily qualified for the finals. It's Wake Forest's Paul Speck and South Carolina's Jawad Kachina. I'm butchering that last name. Their times were 3:56 and 3:57 for 5th and 6th. So Heat 2 will have to make sure that it's a little faster to beat those times. Everybody will be capable of doing that, but we'll see how tactics play a role. Gary Martin now being interviewed post-race. He's the winner of Heat 1 in 3:55.1. A pretty fast time for a men's prelim round at NCAA's, I would say. Sometimes they do not even break 4 minutes, which all of these guys have low 350s in their legs, but national championships, you get tactical. Okay, we've got our first comment in the live chat of the night. Appreciate Golden Cheetah. Thank you for your live comment. Golden Cheetah says, yo, please show when Marco races. Man, I'm excited for that Marco Langan race. He'll be in the 5K today, the 3K tomorrow. We are going to be bringing the energy, going absolutely crazy during that race. He's talked about this meet for months, and he's going to put it all on the track. Unfortunately, we will not be able to show video footage. I wish just as much as you that I was able to, but unfortunately this stream would get taken down due to copyright if I were to show the live race footage. Afterwards, if you follow the Kick Podcast on Instagram, we do post the commentary along with the video footage of the race. Golden Cheetah, please show the race, bro. Yeah, I really wish we could. Unfortunately, it would get taken down immediately due to copyright. And then we wouldn't be able to have these fun live watch party streams. Think of it like a radio broadcast is basically what I can provide. Maybe a little better. But that's what we're here for at these live streams. Wish I could show the race. It's available on ESPN Plus if you would really like to watch, but this is the next best thing. Some people have even said that they will be watching the races but also tune into our live watch parties just to have this kind of community to all talk about what's going on. So that's been really cool. We did it at USA Indoor Championships just a couple weeks ago, and we had a blast. So yeah, that's the best I can do here is just provide that live reaction, live commentary. Energy will only go up from here. Again, these are just some prelim miles, so no finals, no national titles being given out yet. But when we get to that 5K later, it's gonna be awesome. Race is live. What is going on? Thank you, Gustav Benson, for your comment. Yeah, Heat 2 is on the track now. This one's a lot faster. They just got out really hot. They know that they have to run fast to take out those 356 and 357. I think we're 5th and 6th in the first heat. So they're going to try to run this thing probably in the 355 area and try to get through to that final. So let's lock in here for Heat 2 of the men's mile. Thank you for those who have participated in the live chat thus far. Heat 2 on the track. Approaching 800 meters in. And in the early going here, everybody's still in this thing. Trent McFarland probably the favorite in this heat, so let's see how he'll fare. He's in third right now, the Michigan runner. The Cornell athlete leading this thing. That's Pierre Adiogbe. And he'll be leading this thing with just a few laps to go. But now it's BYU's Carter Cutting taking the race, followed by Trent McFarland of Michigan. Cutting of BYU turning things up. McFarland following. But they're not able to pull away from this field as everybody's still in the mix here. Really, no athlete has dropped off the back yet. And we're headed into the bell lap. It is still Carter Cutting of BYU in the lead. Trent McFarland close behind. McFarland going to swing wide. He's not taking the lead, but staying even with Cutting of BYU. Those two are definitely going to make it through here. They look smooth and they won't be caught. But who's it going to be for the rest of them? We're going to be right around 3:55 for the finish. Cutting and McFarland fist bump going down the home stretch. They know they're in. I don't think it's going to be quite as fast as Heat 1. And it is 3:56 for the win there for both Trent McFarland and Carter Cutting. Don't know who actually won there. They don't care. They're on to the finals. $3:56.7 for the win, Carter Cutting. So he'll be through along with Trent McFarland. Ruben Reyna of Washington. He'll join his teammate Thomas Diamond in the final. So both University of Washington athletes who were entered in this mile are in the final. Some great history there at what we like to call Mile U. And your final qualifier will be Matthew Andrade of New Mexico. Isaiah Givens just misses it. He will not qualify for the finals. A fan favorite from Colorado, Givens, does not advance. Elliott Cook of Oregon also doesn't make it through here. So maybe a couple more surprises in this one than with the women. Thank you, KE Running, for your comment. Putting the race on ESPN Plus is tragic. Yeah, luckily I do have ESPN Plus, so I'm able to watch and provide some live commentary for everybody. And I hope, even though it's not quite as good as that coverage, you're still able to enjoy here. We're bringing that energy the best we can do. Wish I could show you the race footage live, but copyright does not allow for that. But we've had some great times here on our Kick live streams for races. Tonight will be no different. We just wrapped up the women's and men's mile prelim rounds. Annalise, thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. I'm doing a good job. Who needs ESPN? Agreed. I mean, you could have both. If you have ESPN Plus, feel free to tune in on there, but keep this live stream going. Leave your live chats with the community as the races unfold. That's what this is all about. You know, the community, it's way better when these live streams have the live chat popping off and we're all able to kind of communally commentate what's going on and chime in on the action. If you're not able to watch and you have somebody that you're rooting for, let me know and I will definitely call them out, shout them out. But those men and women's mile prelims are in the books. Let's recap. Basically, the women's mile was as expected. Rosemary Longisa qualifies. All three of the Oregon women qualify. Riley Chamberlain, the collegiate record holder in the mile, she qualifies and advances. Claire Stegall, the star freshman for Florida, she advances. Sadie Engelhart, freshman from NC State, she's through. I think maybe one of the surprises you could say was NAU's Haley Burns qualifying for the final in the mile, so that's exciting for them. Steven says Giovanna Meeks. All right. Appreciate that. We will watch out for Giovanna Meeks. Caleb Guthrie says, where's the actual stream? So I am watching the actual stream on ESPN Plus, but it's not legal to show that on my stream. I would get taken down for copyright. So if you have ESPN Plus, feel free to tune in on there and watch the live race footage. If you can't do that or don't want to do that, feel free to stick around here and we're going to commentate the action as long as the meet goes tonight. All right, miles are wrapped up. We're on to the prelim rounds for the 60-meter dash now. Pretty hard to commentate those races considering they're about 6 seconds long, but we will definitely do our best. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in here. Welcome to the Kick. I'm your host, Will Loggia. The day has finally come. It's the 2026 NCAA Indoor Championships. We are going to be live, reacting to it all tonight. We can't show the race footage here, much to everybody's disappointment, but we are going to be providing high-energy commentary for the next 4 hours of the national championships. And I'll also be engaging with your comments in live chat, so please leave some comments there. It's starting to get some momentum. Let's set a new record here on the Kick for live chats. And views too. Share this link with your running friends who may be interested in tuning in. The running community is a special, special community. So leave a chat. Who are you rooting for? What event are you most excited to see? And we are getting into the prelim round for the 60-meter dash. In Heat 1, it's Shanice Walker of Florida State who takes the win. She'll advance, and that's a PR for Shanice Walker. PR in the prelim for Shanice Walker of Florida State. She'll take the win. Nayla Harris was second. she auto qualifies. And again, it's only 2 auto qualifiers per heat in the 60-meter dash. 8 will advance total. It's the top 2 in each heat, and then the next 4 best times. So out of heat 1, it's Shanice Walker of Florida State, Nayla Harris. Not sure which school she is from. Let me get the confirmation on that. Nayla Harris is a senior at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Cool. Representing. We're going to keep an eye out for Giovanna Meeks, who Steven Snell is tuning in, rooting for. We've got some sprint events going on right now. I will be fully transparent that I am not as knowledgeable in the sprints as a former distance runner. In the NCAA, I am most familiar with the distance running side of things. Heat 2 of the women's 60-meter dash prelims is about to take their marks. So we will update you on how this second heat goes. So we did have a comment earlier about Giovanna Meeks. I am not familiar with the athlete, but I believe she is a thrower. I don't think there are any more throwing events going on for the rest of today's meet. So just to be transparent there. Definitely had some throwing going on earlier. I think most of that was for pentathlon, heptathlon. And then I think tomorrow will be most of the throwing events, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I'm mostly familiar with the distance side of things. All right, heat 2 of the women's 60-meter dash prelim round. It's going to be close, as it always is. And taking the win is Victoria Cameron of Tarleton State. The sophomore punches her ticket to the next round. And second is a Georgia athlete. Not sure the name on her. But it looks like 2 Georgia athletes will advance to the finals. Shanice Walker from Heat 1. Florida State athlete, her 7.07 will stand as the fastest time between the 2 heats. So Victoria Cameron making a statement there in Heat 2. She takes the win in 7.09. Tarleton State athlete. And they are interviewing her now on the broadcast. And she is nothing but smiles, as she should be. Congrats to Victoria Cameron. All right, we've got a comment in the live chat. Kick Royalty has joined the live stream here. It's Foster Malik, former guest on the Kick, one of the fastest milers in the world right now. He'll be representing Canada next week at the World Championships. So everybody say hi to Foster in the live chat right now. His comment was that Max Crosby deserves to be a Raven, and he's calling me out there because I am a Raiders fan when it comes to the NFL. And Foster, his professional running team is based in Baltimore. He is a member of the Under Armour team based in Baltimore, and they were hoping that they'd be able to trade for Max Crosby, but they backed out of it at the last second. So the Raiders will retain Max Crosby, the Condor. So a little bit of sidetracking there for American football, but that's okay as we are between events here on the track at the NCAA championships. Like I said, kick royalty is in the chat right now. Track royalty, really. Foster Malik. If you're able to comment in the live chat, guys, feel free to do so. Foster is one of the fastest milers in the world right now, so if you're a fan of track, you probably know him. He's got a boatload of Canadian records, and he's got an episode on the podcast here on the kick, so definitely check that out. That was a great one. So Foster, hope you're doing well. If you're still in the stream, I know you're a busy man out there in Poland already. Gearing up for the World Championships. Foster will be competing in the men's 1,500 meter, the World Championships in Poland next week. But just last year, he was at this meet, the NCAA Indoor Championships, and he placed third in the men's mile, representing Boston University, of course. Full transparency, Foster's my former teammate, so we're pretty good friends. But yeah, pretty awesome that he's here. Foster says sub to the pod. Yeah, absolutely. Foster, we had, if you're still in here, we had Wes Porter, your new teammate at Under Armour. He was on the podcast just yesterday, so new episode up there. And he actually took down your record. Well, it wasn't a record, but he beat your time in the final kick segment of the podcast. So he was pretty happy about that. Have you listened to his episode yet? You got a bunch of shout outs in there. So we'll continue to monitor the live chat, but we are about to get into the men's 60-meter dash. The men's 60 prelims, Chance Cross in Heat 1. We've got Amari Lewis of Auburn, Devontae Howell of Tennessee, Malachi Snow of Texas Tech, Ajani Dwyer of Penn State, and I can't see the rest of the entries because they are not showing them, but they're about to get things started here as the men take their marks in Heat 1 of the men's 60-meter dash. Foster says, I can't stand that guy. He can't stand Wes Porter. You heard it here first, guys. Yeah, Wes had some, he had some things to say about you. We'll be listening, no doubt. Yeah, no, we've had 3 professional Under Armour athletes on the kick so far. We've had Foster Malik, we've had Damian Dilcher, and now most recently Wes Porter. Some of the most popular episodes on the kick. Pretty cool. Wes Porter recently ran a 350 mile, so I think his episode might do pretty well, as a lot of people are following along with what he's doing. But that episode has only been out not even 24 hours, so definitely check that out on the kick, wherever you listen to podcasts, right here on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's up there. All right, men's 60 Heat 1. Here we go. And it's going to be Israel Okan of Auburn. 6.48 to take the win, and they're saying that's a PR. PR in the prelim. Kalen Walker of Iowa, second. Those two punch their ticket to the final. Malachi Snow was third. His time, 6.54. We'll see if that holds up. But it's Israel Okan of Auburn and Kalen Walker of Iowa who punched their ticket to the finals. Foster, appreciate you tuning in here, man. Out in Poland. Pretty cool that you're out there so early, a week in advance. Getting used to it, getting yourself settled, getting yourself acclimated to the new time zone. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We're going to really turn things up here very soon. Again, all we've had so far is prelim rounds, but there are finals on deck in the very near future. The highly anticipated 5K on both the women's side and men's side. On the women's side, everybody talking about Doris Lemgoli of Alabama and Jane Hedengren of BYU. They'll be facing off, but there's a lot of athletes in the mix there. One of which who was recently on the podcast here on The Kick, Jaden Keeler. She's a Canadian who is now running for the University of North Dakota. And she has qualified for this women's 5K here. So really excited to see how she fares on the national stage this year. She was 10th last year, and she's eyeing that top 8 to get first team All-American. You can hear all about her story in her episode of The Kick, Jaden Keeler. It's a great episode, great athlete, really cool story as an underdog from a school that does not usually get representation at the national meet. We've got the last year's bronze medalist, if you will, in the men's mile from this meet. Foster Malik is tuned in here, and he's one of the top commenters already today. So appreciate Foster being here. If you haven't listened to his episode on The Kick, that is a must listen to. I think it might be the second most listened to episode on the channel. So a fan favorite for sure. All right, so we are moving into Heat 2 of the men's 60, I believe. Should be. They take a while for these sprint events. I know they got to get set. I mean, they should take their time. These athletes train their whole life for a 6-second event. All right, in Heat 2 underway, and it's going to be Jelani Watkins with a 6.46. The Arkansas athlete runs the fastest time of the day so far. He'll punch his ticket to the final. And in second, it's Kanian Sola Ajayi of Auburn. So 60-meter dash in the books for both the women and men now, these prelim rounds. Top 8 advanced, and the finals will go down tomorrow. Congrats to those who advanced through there. Next up is going to be the 400 meters. Prelim round again. The Princess comments, I'm surprised Chloe Forrester didn't make it to the final. First heat of the women's mile. Thank you for bringing that up. It's true. She was definitely an athlete to watch. Yeah, she's had a lot of success in the mile. You know, I mentioned earlier that University of Washington has great history in the mile. Usually that pertains to maybe the men's side more than the women, but there have been plenty of women from University of Washington fare really well in the mile, including Chloe Forrester. But today, maybe just not her day. She was in that first heat. Things were tactical. She didn't even run under 440, which obviously we know she's more than capable of, but sometimes these championship tactics can get the best of some great athletes. So Chloe Forrester of Washington does not advance in the women's mile. Always a bummer, but not everybody can get through. That's why they run the prelims. All of these women really deserving to get to this level is incredible. But it's not guaranteed. When you've got prelim rounds, it is not guaranteed. All right, 400s on deck. Who's excited for the 5Ks later today? Women's 5K will be first at 7 p.m. Central Time, so 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Just about an hour until the 5Ks get underway. Plenty of time to leave your predictions in the live chat if you've got them, but we'll continue to react to the action on the track right now. We've got a lot of prelims going down. Actually on a bit of commercial break right now, so gives us a chance to chat it out. Here. All right. In between events here. Should be getting the 400s on the track shortly. Thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. We've got another comment in the live chat. The Princess V90 says, DMR is my favorite race. Sure, the 5K is going to be lots of drama. I'm hoping Marco Langen wins. Woo! Yes, things are getting interesting. DMR is an amazing event. It'll be the last one of the night tonight. And I think it's so cool how so many people are doubling back for their teams. You know, they might have run the mile earlier and they hop back in for the DMR, for their teams, and crazy things go down. I was in person to watch the last 2 years of the NCAA Indoor Championships. Couldn't make it out to Arkansas this year. I was working at the meets last year and the year before doing interviews. So definitely always enjoyed that DMR as well. And I got to agree, I think I'm Team Marco Langen for that 5K. I mean, nobody wants it more than him. He's been talking about this meet for a long time, and I'm a little biased as I ran in the same section as Marco in high school. Actually won my sectional cross-country race that he was in, but he was 2 years younger than me. So he wasn't quite at the Marco Langen we know today, but I'll always take that as a win to beat somebody of that caliber. Pretty cool. But yeah, he is 2 years younger than me. But yeah, coming from New Jersey, we got to support fellow New Jersey guys. So I'm definitely a Marco Langen supporter. Last month, we had Marco Langen on the kick briefly on the Instagram. Not for a full episode of the podcast yet. Maybe we will have him soon. But he did give us a little clip on the kick Instagram, just talking about this race actually and how his sights are set on winning a national title or two here at the NCAA Indoor Championships. The Princess, really appreciate your comment. That's what makes these live streams so fun, and it just builds the excitement of the biggest indoor meet of the year. Certainly Marco is the big storyline, I would say, and he has successfully marketed it to achieve that kind of attention. But yeah, DMR is phenomenal. Really, every team's got a shot. That anchor leg is so fun to watch as the milers duel. All right, 400s on the track. It's going to be the women first. The first heat, it's Rachel Joseph of Iowa State. And she's going to win heat 1. Rachel Joseph wins heat 1 with Sydney Segala of Boston College in second. Interesting thing about the women's and men's 400s, though, winning your heat does not advance you. It's all about time. So 51.2 for Rachel Joseph in the win here. So we will see. Say that's a pretty fast time, 51.2. For Rachel Joseph's sake, I hope it stands. But these women in Heat 2 are definitely going to try to take it down. And Heat 2 is underway here. These women know the time to beat. They're going to be giving it their all here. $51.2 was the win for Heat 1. So that's going to be a really tough time to top, but these women are going after it. Second lap here, already starting to slow, though. 400 really tough for these sprinters to keep things together. It's such a tough event. That last 100 meters is just one of the hardest stretches in any event in track and field. I think Rachel Joseph's Heat 1 time is definitely going to stand. Coming down the home stretch here, it's Kaylin Brown of Arkansas, but also Sydney Sutton of Florida. She'll take the win. Sydney Sutton of Florida, the freshman, runs 51.25, just fraction a second behind Rachel Joseph from Heat 1, but they'll both qualify and advance. The broadcast has now cut to the throws events, and we've got Ryan Johnson celebrating a good throw. Apologies if you're a fan of the throws. They do not show much in the broadcast of them. I honestly wouldn't know how to commentate it very well either. They're showing Tariq Robinson O'Hagan. He looks happy, but maybe like he left something on the table. And they're saying that first place is Ryan Johnson of Iowa. I'm not sure if that's the official final result or if they're continuing to throw now. So far on tonight's stream, we've already gotten 350 views total. Obviously, a lot of people in and out, but really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I think we can set a record tonight, as a lot of people are going to be joining this thing in about 45 minutes when we get into the 5K action, probably the marquee event of the night, 5K final for both the women and men. Highly, highly anticipated battles going down in both of those races. If you're just joining us now, I'm Will Loggia. I'm the host of The Kick, a runner's podcast. Welcome to this special live edition of The Kick. It's the 2026 NCAA Indoor Championships, and we are going to be live reacting all night as we slowly but surely approach some of the finals on the way. But right now it's 400-meter prelims for the women. I believe one more heat. And in Heat 3 here, it's going to be 4 athletes. Hannah Douglas of Kentucky, who they are showing right now, and 3 other women. So we will see. 51.20 is the fastest time currently after 2 heats of the women's 400-meter prelims. As we get into Heat 3 here, and they are off. I will say, the Arkansas track, they've got a packed house, at least in one side of the stands. It's good to see so many fans of track and field out and watching the NCAA championships. They call this track the track capital of the world. A lot of national championships have been hosted here. Maybe it's not quite Tracktown USA like Eugene, Oregon, but hey, they'll take the title of track capital of the world. All right, these 4 women are all close. Second lap here. Toughest part. How fast will they run? They're on a really great pace and they don't seem to be slowing down. They might be able to take down the times from the first 2 heats. Going into the home stretch here, 51.20 is the time to beat. They won't quite get there as the heat winner. They are not showing the time. They are just showing the athlete here. KE Running says set up a mirror or something and show the 5K. Man, I really wish I could. Unfortunately, not able to do that. Cannot show the live race footage here. You know the deal with copyright, but I will be providing high energy commentary through it all. Definitely follow the Kick podcast on Instagram. Afterwards, we'll be posting clips of the highlights of this, and at that point we can include race footage. We just can't show it live here. All right, getting back to the action on the track. Heat 3 of the women's 400 prelims was won in 51.84, so they did slow down a bit there. And only, 51.43 was the win in Heat 3. So how many athletes will qualify from Heat 3? That's 3 athletes. So Rachel Joseph of Iowa State, her 51.2 stands as the fastest time. Sydney Sutton of Florida, second, 51.25. We'll see how they all fare in the final. I got to be honest, I don't know any of those athletes. I don't follow the sprints. I'm going to be fully transparent. I am a distance runner. But if there are any sprint fans in the chat, I apologize for my lack of knowledge on that side of things. But feel free, leave a comment if you have some knowledge on the sprints. If there were any surprises in that women's 400-meter prelim, feel free to let us all know. But generally, our audience here on the Kick is more focused on the distance events. Most of our guests here on the podcast are distance runners. Gotta have a niche, right? Gotta have a niche. All right, men's 400 will be next, but now would be a great time to hear from anybody in the live chat. What are you looking forward to? Guys, I am so excited for the 5K. I feel like I haven't been this excited for any event at an NCAA championship. This is just something else with the way that Marco Langen has hyped us all up for the men's 5K, but also on the women's side. You know, Doris Lemgele of Alabama has been winning so many national titles. I've interviewed her after her wins multiple times at these NCAA championships. I've been, in the mixed media zone multiple times. She's a phenomenal athlete, great person. She's really used to winning. But now you've got Jane Hennegren of BYU, the freshman. Well, a lot of people are saying, hey, maybe she can give Doris a run for the money. She didn't quite give her enough of a run for the money in cross country, as Doris won that pretty handily. But we'll see. They're facing off again today. They faced off earlier this indoor season as well. Doris got the best of Jane. I don't like to predict these things. I like to just commentate and react to the action. But I do have to say, for the women's 5K, I'm going to predict Doris of Alabama to win. I just don't think anybody's going to take her down as long as she's in the NCAA. Jane has a very bright future, though. She's only a freshman. A lot of other phenomenal athletes in the 5Ks. We get so caught up talking about the favorites, but you never know. You never know. Sophia Kennedy of Stanford is somebody a lot of people are super eager to see what she can do. A lot of listeners here on the Kick are familiar with Jaden Keeler. She was a guest recently on the Kick, shared her story, a really cool story coming out of Canada, and then now representing the University of North Dakota, team that does not get represented at the national championships super often. So that underdog story, hey, it's March. We all know in basketball, March Madness, anything can happen. Same thing in track and field. Every year there are surprises, there are upsets. All right, the Princess comments, what about Tevon Kitchen, the BYU freshman? He's been running a lot of gutsy races. I predict he takes it out. Thank you for bringing him up. Kitchen of BYU, the freshman, he is bold. I mean, I love the way he runs. In cross country, he led the race for a good portion of it. And I think Coach Ed Eyestone of BYU was a little bit surprised about him doing that, but that's just the way Kitchen runs. And I wouldn't put it past him to make a bold move tonight. Saw him at BU make a really aggressive move with 600 meters to go in a 3K. Kitchen overtook Marco Langen and Colton Sands in that race. Wasn't able to hold on, but still ran a really fast time for third there. And of course, we all know Colton Sands and Marco Langen went down to the line in that 3K. Marco fell, and they gave him the win, but a lot of people think that he might have kind of obstructed Colton Sands' path to the finish. So we'll see how everything plays out at the NCAA championships. Marco has a tendency to fall at the finish line. That can create a lot of drama, especially for a national title. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, Kitchen of BYU, the freshman, do not count him out. He is an incredibly talented runner. His confidence is through the roof, and he is not going to be afraid to mix it up with anybody in this field. Colton Sands, another phenomenal athlete. I really don't think in the 3K or 5K there's a favorite for the men. I feel like there's just a lot of great athletes. You know, Marco Langen has kind of marketed himself as the favorite and the guy to beat, but it's not like he's going to run away with it. If Marco wins, it will be a very close finish where he's probably going to be falling at the finish line, and that's just how it's going to be. All right, let's check back in with the men's 400-meter prelims here. Really enjoy talking about the distance events, but right now it is the men's 400 on the track, Heat 1. And just want to shout out our top commenters so far tonight. Top commenter is the Princess V90, and I really appreciate the thoughtful comments about the upcoming highly anticipated distance events tonight with that 5K. Heat 1 of the men's 400 is underway, and these men are digging. Just always so inspiring to see these athletes at the highest level in the NCAA. I mean, they are going to run a ridiculous fast time. I don't even know what the men's 400 typically gets one in, but they look to be on pace to run something really fast in this prelim, maybe like a 45 low. Coming down the home stretch here, it's a Purdue athlete, Samuel Vassat. He'll win this thing in, it looks like 45.6. We'll get the official time for you in a second. 45.59 for Samuel Vassat of Purdue, representing the Boilermakers. Then Jaden Horton Mims of Florida, the freshman, coming in second there, 45.83. Florida's got an interesting singlet they're wearing today. Not their typical uniform. I don't know how I feel about it. I always like the combination of the blue and orange in the Florida uniform, but this one is just blue and white. Maybe a little orange in there. I can't even see it. Basically no orange. It's just a blue and white singlet. A lot of those well-funded top D1 teams, I think, get a little bit too fancy with their uniform assortment. They're always changing it up. Sometimes it's best to just keep things, uniform in your uniforms, I think. Man, I cannot wait to get these distance events cooking. We've got 800 prelims right around the corner here in just about 15 minutes. The women's, or 10 minutes, the women's 800 prelims will be underway. But first, we've got the men's 400 meter prelims in progress. See who will advance to the final. The princess says, I think it's a psychological advantage to change the uniforms. Florida usually goes solid white. Man, really appreciate your comments. The Princess V90 definitely makes these moments of the live stream more interesting, as there's not currently a lot to talk about with the track action. Obviously, that will very soon change. But for right now, yeah, kind of fun to just talk about uniforms and some of that stuff. Interesting point. I wouldn't have thought of that it's a psychological advantage to change the uniforms. If I were to put myself in that perspective, I ran for Boston University and we never changed our uniforms. We had, slight changes, but it wasn't drastic changes. We had a white BU singlet and we had a red BU singlet, and that's what it was. I think there was one change maybe between years, but it wasn't like we were always changing the singlet. I don't know. I might be a little superstitious though. I always wore the same red headband for every race in high school. My team was blue, and I wore the same blue headband for every race. So it's something about the routine of it I like. And if the uniform's changing, I don't know. Psychologically, for some, it might be an advantage. For me, not as much, I would say. Your competitors won't recognize you in a different color. Very funny. Yeah, maybe that's a part of it. Although I think some of these athletes are just going to be recognized no matter what, but that is funny. I think it could be a psychological advantage in the sense that it psychs your competitors out. Oh my gosh, how could I beat this Oregon athlete who always has a new uniform? They're funded by Nike. Just the aura, the mystique of some of those top teams, just having the ability to switch out and swap out the uniforms. I could see that maybe getting into some competitors' heads. But at this level, if you've made it to the NCAA championship, you're probably not getting psyched out by things like that. Sometimes I think these teams are just able to throw around their funding, and hey, I guess more power to them, right? I'll also say, just from a fan perspective, my favorite sport other than track to watch as a fan is American football. I'm a fan of the Las Vegas Raiders, and they are a classic team that always wears the same silver and black uniform. They don't mess with it. And I love that. I feel like if you've got a great history, got a great uniform, you don't need to change it. Whereas a lot of the newer teams are always switching out their uniforms, and it feels like they don't have as strong of an identity as some of the classic teams that don't change the uniform. But I digress. Men's 400 meters. Heat 2 here. It's going to be one in a fast time, 45.55. Josiah Rice of South Carolina wins Heat 2. That's the fastest time between the two heats thus far. And that will definitely get him into the finals. We've got one more heat of the men's 400 here. And then we're going to be getting into some of the races that I actually know what I'm talking about with. We're going to have the prelims for the 800s, followed by 60-meter hurdles, which I don't know so much about. But then we've got the 5Ks. And that's when things are really going to turn up here on The Kick, a Runners podcast. Thank you for joining. Welcome to The Kick. Special live edition tonight, 2026 NCAA Indoor Championships. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. If it's your vibe, it's free. We do a lot of podcast episodes with great guests mostly distance runners, but from all different levels of the sport. We recently had Wes Porter, 350 miler. His episode is up now. Hasn't been up for even 24 hours, but I have already received a lot of great feedback from our audience. Kick Nation here. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. The podcast is available on Spotify, YouTube right here, and Apple Podcasts. So wherever you get your podcasts, the Kick a Runner's podcast should be there. Also have exclusive content on the Instagram at the Kick Podcast. So we're through 2 heats of the men's 400 meter prelims with 1 to go. Heat 3 on the track here. Another Florida athlete repping the slightly strange uniform that is basically just blue and white. Very, very modern looking. But this Florida athlete will be leading things here. It's Justin Braun, the junior. And he is taking things out fast. And it doesn't look like he's going to be caught, but things can change quickly in the 400. Justin Braun of Florida leading this thing. 100 meters to go. He's still got it. Looking good. This is going to be a fast time. I think he'll go sub 45. And it's Florida's Justin Braun coming down the home stretch. 44 on the clock. 44 high, it looks like. We'll wait for the official time here, but it's definitely a sub 45 for Florida's Justin Braun. Very commanding race out of the Florida junior, making a statement for what's to come in the finals here. All right, so 400s. Men and women prelims in the books. We're going to have 800s on the track shortly. If you couldn't tell, I'm a little bit more distance-minded, and the 800 is kind of that shortest event of my knowledge, I would say. I do know a thing or two about the 800. So excited to see that all go down. Thank you, everybody, for joining here. If you are able to leave a comment in the live chat, please do so. Nick comments, set up a mirror. Yeah, unfortunately not going to be able to do that. I wish I could show the race footage live, but what we are going to be providing here is high energy live commentary. We're going to have a good time. Feel free, if you can't watch on ESPN Plus, feel free to check the live results online and kind of like use my live commentary and the live results hand in hand, work together, and that's probably the best experience you could get for free. But if you really want to watch it, it is on ESPN Plus. That's how I'm watching it now, and that's how I'm able to provide this live commentary. In the live chat, Princess says, Penn State has 4 qualifiers in the men's 800 meter. Yes, they do. Yeah, Penn State has had such a strong mid-distance squad this season. Let's see how many of those Penn State men will advance to the final round in the 800. Do we have any predictions for the 800s? Would love to hear your thoughts in the live chat. Again, shout out the Princess V90, our top commenter thus far tonight. But I will say, when we get into the distance events, this thing is going to be popping off. If history has taught us anything, the Kick live stream gets really exciting for the distance events. Okay, Zach the Runner comments, yo, anyone able to pirate this live stream? Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who are going to be looking for the video live footage of the race. Wish I could provide that for you. Unfortunately, due to copyright, all I'm able to legally do is provide live commentary and my reactions as I watch on ESPN Plus. If you don't have ESPN Plus, you're not going to be able to legally watch the race, but hey, this is the next best thing. Think of it like a radio where you're kind of listening to the action. That's what I'm able to provide here. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to be providing live commentary for these highly anticipated 5Ks, which are coming up. But first, we're going to have the 800s. The women prelims first. There's actually a fourth heat of the men's 400 meter. I didn't even realize that. So they're on the track now. After them, we will get into the women's 800 meter prelims. So meet running a little bit behind here. 800s were scheduled to start now, but we've still got another 400 heat. Yeah, Zach wants to watch Marco live. Yeah, I mean, I wish that everybody was able to watch the footage of the race for free. It does kind of suck that it's only on a paid streaming platform. Luckily, I have the ESPN Plus, so you don't have to. I'll be providing live commentary. We've got a prediction in the chat. 3 out of 4 Penn State athletes make it. I think that's a fair prediction. It's always hard to say, like, oh, all 4 of them are going to make it. That's probably not likely. 3 is bold, but certainly could happen, and it would be pretty cool to have 3 Nittany Lions in the finals for the 800. KE Running predicts Alan Clay, Handel, and Nico get through. All right. Shot called. You made your prediction. Let's see if it happens. 800 is going to be interesting. There's always some surprises. There's always some top dogs who don't make it through. It's tough. You know, Matthew Erickson last year was the men's champ, but he's not been running like quite as well as he typically does. So I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Oregon Duck, Matthew Erickson on the men's side. But I don't know. He's just such a experienced tactician when it comes to the national championships. So for those just joining, we are live for the NCAA Indoor Championships. We're going to be live reacting and commentating. We cannot show race footage here. I know a lot of people are clicking on this video hoping that they can watch the race for free. This is the next best thing, though. Live commentary. Going to be going nuts. Going to be going crazy. But unfortunately, not allowed to show the race footage live. They made it paid, guys. They made it paid. ESPN Plus. I wish everybody could watch it. It's a greedy world out there. Everybody wants money. All right, getting back into the action. Men's 400 meter prelims are officially wrapped up now. We're going to be moving into the 800 shortly. Samuel Ogazi of Alabama won that 4th heat of the 400 meter. He ran 45.00, so only one man to break 45 there in the prelims. Kind of a surprise that anybody broke 45, to be honest, in the prelims. But it was Florida's Justin Braun running 44.77. That's a personal record for him, making a statement going into the finals. Having sub-45 wheels. It'll be tough to beat the Florida junior. All right, women's 800. There's going to be 2 heats. Heat 1 is taking the track now. Here comes Haley Kitching, Penn State. We've been talking about the men's 800 runners, but Kitching is certainly a favorite on the women's side. She won the Big Ten just last week. Sanu Jallo. She was 2nd in the SEC. She's running on her home track tonight. The Arkansas Razorback looking to get through this prelim round. And of course, the defending champ from last year's indoor championship, Michaela Page of UNC. This is a stacked first heat here. And they are off. All right, everybody. Women's 800, Heat 1 on the track. Reigning champ Michaela Page is in this one. Let's see what their 200 split's going to be. Haley Kitching of Penn State is up there, but she'll get past pretty quickly as they come through 200 meters, 28.7. Very respectable pace here. They're not making it too tactical. And it's a Kentucky athlete in the lead here. That must be Vanis Carubo. And she's starting to slow things down here. This second lap is certainly going to be slower than the first lap. Michaela Page working her way to the outside. She's running in lane 2. Running a little extra distance here, but wanting to keep her position. If it's going to be a little bit more slow and tactical, she can afford to do that. And I think it's smart for the UNC athlete to kind of keep her position here, ready to strike at any moment, because this thing has really slowed, and it's going to pick up at any moment here, probably in the final lap, because this third lap is still slow, and we have a fall. We have a fall, and it's Kitching of Penn State on the ground just before the bell. Penn State, Haley Kitching, one of the favorites in this event, fell down before the bell, and she is sprinting to try to catch back up, but I don't think she's going to be able to do it. An extremely costly fall there. If she's able to work her way back up into this race, it's going to be incredible. Penn State's Haley Kitching digging to try to catch this field. She's not going to be able to do it, as there is a strong group of women there at the front. Oh, just devastating to see an athlete go down like that. Haley Kitching goes down with about 220 meters to go in the race, and at that point, the field was really starting to turn things up, wind things up. She just had no chance of catching them, did everything she could. But it's going to be Sanu Jallow running 2:03 to win this heat. Michaela Page in third to qualify, and Kentucky's Vanis Carubo. Those are your top 3 qualifiers. I don't think anybody beyond those top 3 are going to advance now, because 2:03, it's a good time, but I think the next heat is going to be able to top that. Oh, just so tough to see Haley Kitching go down. Haley Kitching, valiant effort to try to catch back up and work her way back into this heat. She swung out to lane 4 and was just sprinting to try to catch these women. Oh, and now they are showing Haley Kitching just devastated. There could be a chance. Now she is angry. She is not happy, rightfully so. Hopefully she can hold it together here, because there is a chance always that a dispute and a complaint can be filed and a protest can go through that allows Haley Kitching to advance. I'd like them to re-show exactly how she went down, because if it was another athlete clearly causing the fall, there is a chance that Haley Kitching gets through via protest. And honestly, I'm hoping that's what happens, because everybody wanted to see Kitching in the finals for the women's 800. I mean, she's a senior at Penn State. She's had a phenomenal season. She's one of the favorites. And she just fell with just over a lap to go. Would love them to show, I'm sure they will soon, but they have to get into Heat 2 here of the women's 800. So they're going to be showing this. Heat 2 of the women's 800 is now underway. Still not over what happened in Heat 1 there with the fall from Haley Kitching. You absolutely hate to see that. Going to catch up really quick with the live chat. If she was impeded, they will put her in the final. They've done it before. I agree. I agree with that comment. I think there is a chance that that happens. They're certainly going to be reviewing it. Coming off the finish line, Haley Kitching was visibly angry. So a protest will absolutely be filed. Hopefully the officials are able to push her through to the final, because we all want to see the best of the best in the finals. You know, most importantly, Kitching is okay. sometimes an athlete can fall and it can cause injury. That didn't happen. She was able to get up, finish the race, looks totally fine walking after the race. I mean, I'm sure she isn't probably in perfect condition, but maybe a bruise or two, no serious injuries. All right, heat 2 of the women's 800 prelim. Juliet Whitaker, the superstar for Stanford, is leading this thing. She's beside a Clemson athlete. And of course, Harvard's Sophia Gorierin is close behind. I think they're going to try to make this one faster than Heat 1. 2:03 was the winning time in Heat 1. I think these women are going to target a faster time than that. They're going into the bell lap. And it is Clemson's Gladys Chepnogorich, one of the top women in this field. She's going to take control. Clemson's Chepnogorich going to win this thing in 2:01. Let's see who the rest of the qualifiers are. Whitaker looked like she got through. So did Harvard's Sophia Gorierin. And this heat was definitely fast enough to get some qualifiers and bump out the slower times from Heat 1. So it's Chepnogorich of Clemson, one of the favorites in the women's 800. Gladys Chepnogorich wins in a convincing 2:01.56. Close behind was Juliet Whitaker, 2:01.9. Arkansas's Annalise Batista, 2:02.1. She'll make it through. And Sophia Gorierin of Harvard, 2:02.3. But we all are left wondering what will happen with Penn State's Haley Kitching. To recap, about 220 meters to go in the race, Haley Kitching falls. Not sure if another runner caused it, but she goes to the track, bell lap. Everybody starts moving. Haley Kitching closes ground, somehow closes the gap with the leaders and is able to catch up, but it's too little too late. She doesn't get qualified, even though obviously she deserved to. I mean, had she not fallen, absolutely would have qualified. So we'll see what gets done there. Really, really tough to see an athlete go down, to see any athlete go down. But when it's a senior like Haley Kitching of Penn State, who was one of the favorites in the event, who's had a phenomenal season, really is in the running to win a national title, you know, you just hate to see that happen. So they are now interviewing Juliet Whitaker after this one. Fan favorite from Stanford. Surprised that they are not interviewing Gladys Chepnogorich, who won that heat, but Juliet Whitaker is absolutely a superstar in the sport, so I get why they might want to be interviewing her as well, but usually they just interview whoever won. If it was a final, they would be interviewing the winner no matter what. But since it's a prelim, they can be a little more flexible on who they interview post-race. All right, so women's 800 prelims were crazy. I wanted to say they did not disappoint, but they kind of did disappoint in the sense that a disappointing thing happened with an athlete falling. Haley Kitching of Penn State, currently not advancing to the 800 finals on the women's side, but that could soon change as a protest is pending. So that women's 800 under review. We'll see how the protest goes for the Penn State athlete Haley Kitching. And we are going to get right into the men's 800 prelims now. So there are, again, two heats of the men's 800. Heat 1 is on the track, about to get started. 2 Arkansas athletes are in this one, including Rivaldo Marshall, who has a national title in this event to his name. Just 2 years ago, won the men's 800 indoors at the NCAA championships. And he'll be looking to defend his home track for the Razorbacks here, along with his teammate, Tyrese Taylor. So we mentioned before, 4 Penn State men are in the men's 800 prelim round. 3 of them are in Heat 1 here. Yukichi Ishii, Nico Schultz, and Handel Roban. All in Heat 1 here. And it's the Nittany Lions leading this thing. They are 1, 2, and 4 right now. They have the majority in this heat, and they want to use it to their advantage to take control. So it's the Nittany Lions leading Heat 1 here, looking to punch their ticket to the finals in the men's 800. Everybody in the mix here. So how many of the Penn State men will be able to advance to the finals in the 800? It looks like at least 2 of them from this heat are going to have it as they're leading this thing, but the Razorbacks are starting to make a surge. Final lap here. On their home track, it's Rivaldo Marshall and Tyrese Taylor making a move. But Penn State still in the lead. Coming down to the line here, it's going to be 146, a photo finish between Arkansas and Penn State, so they'll both be through. Rivaldo Marshall and Tyrese Taylor definitely looking like the home team there. Coming down to the line, Taylor takes the win. Handel Roban in second for Penn State. Rivaldo Marshall third. Yukichi Ishii of Penn State does come in fourth, so he is qualified for the time being. But Nico Schultz does not make it through. He was in second place all race for the Nittany Lions. Fell apart at the end there. Wasn't able to hold it together, and so that's a bit of a surprise with Nico not advancing to the finals in the men's 800. Earlier we had somebody in the live chat predict that Nico would make it through, I believe. Yes, that was KE running. Roban gets through, but Nico Schultz does not. So it's 2 Penn State men through to the final in the 800. 1 out, and we've got 1 more to go here in Heat 2. Defending champ Matthew Erickson is in this one. I was there at Virginia Beach last year when Erickson took the win in the national title in the men's 800. Talked to him after. He's a great guy, great athlete for the Oregon Ducks. So Heat 2 here going to be interesting. Time-wise, the winning time in Heat 1 was 146.1. So these athletes are aware of that. Georgetown's Tanoda Matsatsa, incredibly talented middle distance runner. He recently won his conference championship in the Big East for the 800. Let's see how he fares. At the national level, he is very experienced, but so is Erickson of Oregon, along with a bunch of athletes in this field. It's going to be a tough one. Camden Marshall of Indiana is in this thing. Alan Clay is the final Penn State athlete to be taking the line here in the prelim round of the 800. Will he join his 2 teammates who advanced? Heat 2 about to get underway here. One of the athletes a little antsy, and the official is going to call them back and talk to them for a bit, trying to avoid any false starts here. But we are going to be underway in Heat 2 of the men's 800 shortly, and in just about 2 minutes we are going to know who is going to the finals of the men's 800. Underway here, and they are going to be out hot. We've got a comment in the live chat. Matthew Erickson hasn't looked great this season. Not sure why. I can agree with you that he hasn't looked his best, but you can never count him out when it comes to the national championship. He's got such experience at this level, and anything can happen. You know, it's tactical. He doesn't need to run super fast, presumably, here in this prelim to get through. So we'll see how things go. But sometimes certain athletes just really thrive on the biggest stage, and they can have kind of unimpressive seasons, and then they come out to the national championships and they're at their best. I think a good rule is if you've won one before, you've got the ability to do it again, regardless of how you've been running recently. So it's Florida in the lead here. That's going to be Miguel Pantojas. But Texas A&M taking the lead now. And Joseph Sakaras of Penn making an aggressive move. But with 1 lap to go, it looks like it's going to be Texas A&M's Peter Narumbe, the freshman. He's leading this thing. Erickson is far back, guys. Matthew Erickson is not in a good spot here. And now going into the home stretch, Matthew Erickson is not going to qualify. A group of 5 men all in front of him, and he is easing off, maybe saving himself for the DMR later tonight, realizing that he's not going to qualify here for the individual 800. But I guess the prior results and previous meets this season did kind of put the writing on the wall that maybe Matthew Erickson wasn't ready to repeat. And the Princess V90, our top commenter thus far tonight, says, I know I cursed him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been a difficult season for Erickson, but he did win the national title last year at this meet. But it will not be a repeat this year as he does not make it through to the final. The freshman from Texas A&M, Peter Narumbe, he wins that one, so he'll be on through. And it looks like Alan Clay of Penn State punches his ticket to the final as well. So 3 Penn State men, 3 out of 4 of them, all through to the final in the men's 800. Pretty impressive. Thought it was too good to be true to get 4 out of 4. Unfortunately for Nico Schultz, he is that guy who gets left out. And their teammate on the women's side had a fall. Haley Kitching. Will she have her protest accepted, and will the Penn State senior Haley Kitching advance in the women's 800? For the sake of the sport, I hope so. I really, really hope so. I'm surprised the broadcast hasn't been re-showing Haley Kitching's. Like, they're not even showing anything right now. It's just a wide shot of the indoor track at Arkansas. Beautiful facility. It's awesome. But let's see the replay of Haley Kitching's fall. I feel like that's what everybody wants to see right now so that we can evaluate, you know, was she obstructed, impeded, you know, did she just fall on her own? Would love to get a better look at that, but they are not showing us that right now. Angel Rodriguez said, who qualified? So I'm assuming that you are talking about the men's 800. We will recap the qualifiers now. Tanoda Matsatsa, definitely a surprise not qualifying. But Matthew Erickson, the defending champ, also a big surprise. Nico Schultz of Penn State doesn't make it through. All right, but who did make it through? It was Arkansas's Tyrese Taylor and Rivaldo Marshall, both out of Heat 1, making the final. Handel Roban and Yukichi Ishii of Penn State both made it out of Heat 1. Then in Heat 2, it was Peter Narumbe for the win, so he'll advance to the men's 800 final. And Oregon's James Harding, he'll make it through. Alan Clay of Penn State is the third Nittany Lion to make it through. And rounding it out, it's the UPenn athlete, Joseph Sakaras, the freshman Ivy Leaguer, making it through to the final. So that's why we watch track and field. Unexpected things can happen. I don't think anybody would have been predicting that both Tanoda Matsatsa and Matthew Erickson wouldn't advance to the final, but that's why they run the race. All of these athletes who qualify to compete at NCAAs are dangerous when it comes to prelims, and you never know how it's going to end up. So we are going to have some 60-meter hurdles up next on the track. It's a prelim round for both the women and men of the 60-meter hurdles. Full transparency, I do not know much about these athletes. I specialize in the distance events. But we'll definitely keep you updated on what's going on the inside of the track here with the women's 60-meter hurdle prelim round about to get underway. Appreciate all the commenters in the live chat. Angel Rodriguez, let me know if I answered your question with the qualifiers. I believe you were referring to the men's 800, but if not, feel free to specify and I will correct myself. Again, if you're just joining, big story I'd say so far tonight was the women's 800 prelim. Haley Kitching falls down with just over a lap to go. She made a very valiant effort to try to catch back up to the field. Couldn't make it happen, though. It was too little too late. Ran a ridiculously fast last lap to try to catch everybody, but couldn't quite get there. Looked really upset coming off the track and will surely be protesting the result and trying to get into the finals via protest. All right, so women's 60-meter hurdles, heat 1 of the prelims, on the track, taking their marks. And over the first hurdle or second hurdle, there's already a fall. Hate to see that. Not sure who that was, but pretty typical in the hurdles to have things like that happen. But so unfortunate for the athlete who did fall there, working all season long to get to this point and then falling. Hate to see that happen. So the way it works for qualifying here in the women's 60-meter hurdles, there's going to be 8 finalists, and it's the top 2 in each heat, and then the next 4 best times. So we can confirm 2 qualifiers out of Heat 1 here. It's UCLA's senior athlete, first name Yanla. I'm not even going to attempt the last name there because I know I'll mess it up. But congrats to her. And then Maddie Cooper of Georgia, the freshman. She qualifies. Unfortunately, the athlete who fell, I believe, was Jocelyn Hamilton of South Carolina. Luckily, she's only a sophomore, so hopefully she'll get redemption as an upperclassman. But so tough to have your national title hopes crushed by a fall. In the hurdles, though, kind of has to be expected. In the 800, which we saw earlier, not as expected. Okay, Angel Rodriguez says 800 qualifiers, was rooting for Miguel Pantojas and Tiago Sakaras from Miami running for UPenn. Well, I can report to you that the UPenn athlete did qualify. He was the last man to advance in the men's 800. So, yes, the freshman from Penn, Sakaras, made it through to the finals. He'll be competing tomorrow in the men's 800 final, competing for a national title. Unfortunately, the Florida athlete you mentioned, Miguel Pantojas, does not advance. But that's how it is in the prelim rounds sometimes. Thank you to everybody who has left a live comment so far. We haven't even gotten into any of the finals events thus far tonight. We will be shortly. Of course, the highly anticipated 5Ks as well as the DMRs. But we've already reached 1,000 total views tonight. Obviously, a lot of people in and out. But we currently have 33 people watching, so appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Things are really going to turn up here as we get into the marquee events. I'd say the women's and men's 5K tonight are probably the most highly anticipated events. On the women's side, we've got Doris Lemengole and Jane Hedegren facing off, as well as a stacked field along with them. Certainly not a given that they'll be 1 and 2, but that seems to be what everybody's expecting. And then on the men's side, Marco Langen has talked about this meet for months. He'll be taking on the men's 5K field, which includes a lot of very strong competitors and former national title winners like Haptem Samuel. So nothing is a given. But that's why we're here. We'll be commentating and reacting live to everything. And Heat 2 of the women's 60-meter hurdle prelims is off. And the winner in this one is going to be an Oregon athlete, Alia McCormick, the senior duck for Oregon. 7.96. That ties, I think that was the same time as the first heat. I think 7.96 won both heats. So those athletes will both be facing off in the finals. If you're able to leave a comment in the live chat, let me know who you're here for. We'll definitely shout them out. And we've already had a lot of people predicting what's going to happen in the distance races. That's our specialty here on the Kick. And of course, we've got the 5Ks coming up tonight, the DMRs, a lot of exciting storylines. It's all going to happen tonight. Will Marco Langen be a national champion in the 5K tonight? We will know very soon, and we will watch it all unfold. Leave a live comment. We'll enjoy it together. I'm going to be going crazy here, reacting to the action. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you've been living under a rock, Marco Langen has been hyping up this race for months. Anytime he runs another race, he just says, it doesn't matter. All that matters is March. Talking about this meet. So I can't say anybody wants it more than he does. But what do you think? Are you a Marco Langen fan? Do you want him to win tonight? Are you sick of his attitude? A lot of people, there's a lot of haters out there. Got to be honest, there's a lot of haters out there. But I think Marco does it intentionally. He knows that whether you love him or hate him, you're watching. And you can't deny that that's good for the viewership in the sport. We've got a comment in the live chat from Brandon. Brandon says, where to watch. All right. So if you want to watch the live video footage of the race, it's only available on ESPN+. That is a paid subscription. Right here on the Kick, this is free. We're reacting live, commentating live, providing the highest energy possible. But due to copyright, we cannot show the live video of the race. So unfortunately, cannot do that. But we are going to be providing the next best thing, which is the highest energy commentary in the game right here on the Kick. Feel free to pull up the live results so you can kind of use both my live commentary and the live results for the best free experience possible. But if you really want to watch the action unfold live, you are going to need ESPN+. Zach the Runner says, just throw on Marco's race on the screen. Yeah, I wish I could. I mean, I absolutely wish I could. I will be commentating every second of that 5K with the highest energy. It's going to be like you're there in person. Every little move, we're going to be commentating it all. So looking forward to that. We've got a comment. Yeah, exactly. If it was desire alone, Marco would win hands down. However, I'm having second thoughts now. Colton Sands, maybe he could pull off the upset. His coach Miltenberg has a knack for, and then the comment cuts off. I think you've reached the character limit in that comment, which I really appreciate. Very in-depth comment there. But yeah, based on what you did get across, I can't agree more. I mean, Marco wants it the most, but I do think that his tendency to fall at the line, it kind of shows that he often doesn't have enough to really outkick these high-level competitors, and that often results in him, just falling because he's running out of gas. And I think it's very unlikely that he's able to run away from it. It's going to be a photo finish, and I think that leaves a few athletes in the mix here. I don't think there's any runaway athlete who's just going to gap the field in the men's 5K. Yeah, so pointing out Colton Sands in the live chat. Yes, I couldn't agree more with that comment. Coach Miltenberg does have a knack for getting his runners ready for championship season. Parker Wolf and Ethan Strand. Yeah, I mean, definitely miss having those guys in the NCAA, mixing it up, but got a whole new era here on both the men's and women's side for UNC. We saw Michaela Page advance earlier in the women's 800. We've got Colton Sands, their new star men's distance athlete. My friend and former teammate Vera Huaberry from BU. She was my teammate for 4 years, and now she's at UNC as a grad student, so she'll be mixing it up in the DMR and the 3K tomorrow. All right, we've got a prediction from our top commenter thus far tonight. The Princess V90 says, my prediction, first place, Marco Langen, second place, Ethan Sands, and third place, Tivon Kitchen. I think you meant Colton Sands, but I see what you mean. I got you. That would be a cool top three. It's hard to imagine Haptem Samuel falling out of the top three, but those three are all guys who have a chance at winning. So I'd say there's probably 4 guys who are really even at the top there, and then we'll see how it all plays out. All right, for fans of the 60-meter hurdles, let's update you on how that all went down. Already talked about the top 2 women who qualified, but we also had Jaya Covington of Texas A&M moving on, Maddie Cooper, Emmy Scales, Akayla Garrett, Annalise Torian, and Oneka Wilson are the top 8 who will be in the finals for the women's 60-meter hurdles tomorrow. Men's 60-meter hurdles is now on the track. Heat 1, Jacoby Tharp wins in 7.36. That's a personal record for him. And Malachi Snow in second. He sets a personal record with a 7.43. So that's Heat 1 in the books. Heat 2 coming up next. Apologies if you are a sprints fan or a hurdles fan, not providing super strong commentary there, as our audience here and our niche here on the kick is the distance athletes. All right. Stigma comments, I think Colin Solomon has the 3K. I think Marco gets second in 5K and 3K. Wow. Appreciate your comment, Stigma. So you think that Marco Langen is going to go home with 2 silver medals? I mean, I can't think of anything that would make him more upset than falling just short of titles in the 5K and 3K, but certainly could happen. Who do you think is going to win, Stigma? If Marco is second in the 5K, who wins? I like your Colin Solomon pick in the 3K. He's clearly putting all his chips on the table for that one. Scratched from the 800, which is crazy. I mean, Colin Solomon but he set the 800-meter collegiate record this season at Millrose, I believe. So for Solomon to scratch from the 800 is crazy. It can only suggest that he is putting all his chips on the table for that 3K. So we'll see how that goes. Zach the Runner predicts first place Marco Langen, Samuel second, Kiplimo or Sands in third. Solid prediction. Yeah, I mean, those are the guys who I'd put in the mix as well. The Princess V90 says Haptom is great, but I think number 4, Haptom, is more of a 10K guy. Yeah, so Haptom Samuel does kind of benefit the longer a race is. We know he's won in cross country. He's won the 10K outdoors. But his finish has gotten better. Like, it's hard to work on your kick, but Haptom Samuel has been closing races better. He did win in December in that 5K between Haptom Samuel, Marco Langen, and Gary Martin. Haptom Samuel actually won that one. So he's kicking with guys who generally are more, 3K guys like Gary Martin, and Gary's really like a miler. So Gary and Marco, who's maybe more of a 3K guy, Haptom showed that he was able to outkick those guys in that scenario. Again, championship racing is different, but I think Haptom has really rounded out his kicking abilities. So we'll see. Yeah, Zach says Haptom is tough. Yeah, he is. He's a tough runner. We'll see. He definitely has great range. So we're starting to get a lot more viewers tuning in here, as expected, as we near the women's 5K, which is moments away, here at the NCAA Indoor Championships 2026. So if you're just joining us now, as I know a lot of people are, welcome to this special live edition of The Kick. I'm your host, Will Loggia. The day is finally here. The 5Ks are finally here. We're going to be live reacting. Cannot show the live race footage that I am watching, but I will be providing high energy commentary and reactions throughout the events, and really excited to get this women's 5K going in just a few moments. Feel free to chime in the live chat. Who do you think is going to win? We've got a lot of predictions in there. Just who are you rooting for? What's going to happen? I mean, it's about to go down. This is it, man. The first final event of the NCAA championships thus far. Everything up until this point has been prelims, but now we're getting into the real good stuff. The first finals, it's the women's 5K. It's a highly anticipated one. The collegiate record holder in the women's 5K is on the line here. It's Jane Hedegren, but I would argue she's not even the favorite. Doris Lemengole, the multi-time champion in the distance events. The Alabama athlete is also on the track, so I think a lot of people are expecting a duel between Jane Hedegren, Doris Lemengole of Alabama, but there's a lot of other women who are right there, and we'll see how this all goes down. Will it be fast? Will it be tactical? There's a chance that the NCAA record goes down again today. Doris wants that to her name. Jane has it right now. Doris wasn't in that race with her. Doris has gotten the best of Jane when they go head-to-head. The meet record is, of course, Parker Valby of Florida. She ran 14:52. But the collegiate record is Jane Hedegren's 14:44 run earlier this season. We'll see. I think there's a good chance that Valby's meet record goes down today. And then I would say there's certainly a chance that the national collegiate record goes down as well. Here we go. The women are on the line. And that camera is focused on the BYU star freshman Jane Hedegren right now. And now Doris Lemengole of Alabama. It's the highly anticipated duel. And we are moments away from it beginning here. Everybody get your popcorn ready. Here we go. And they are off. And they are called back. Little antsy on the line there. Gonna take two here in a second. All right, going to catch up with some live chats here before we get going. But then once the race starts, I'm probably going to be mostly focused on the action. I'll try to keep up with your live chats as best as I can. All right, what do we got here? Just a lot of predictions. We've got a fan of Arkansas in the chat. Michaela's rooting for Jane, but thinks Doris will take it. Will anyone in chat face? No FaceTimes of the race, unfortunately. This is what we can do. So a lot of people are excited. Will not be showing the screen. Video would get taken down due to copyright. So we are going to be live commentating, and the race is off. Already looking like it's going to be maybe a bit of a tactical start. Excited to see all the athletes here. Jane Hedegren is actually towards the back. Doris Lemongole is outside, moving her way to the front, and they are running slow. So I think you could almost immediately throw the collegiate record out the window. That is not what they're going to be going for here. This is a jog fest. Sophia Kennedy up front, keeping things really relaxed. I mean, this is as slow as you could have imagined it going. Incredibly pedestrian here. They are almost walking on the track here. This is ridiculous. Nobody wants to lead. Jane Hedegren's in the back. Doris doesn't even want to lead. Sophia Kennedy is basically walking at the front of the race here. And they're through 400 meters in, what was that, 88 seconds? I don't even know. 78 seconds. Okay, Jane Hedegren is getting a little sick of how slow this is. She's going to move outside. But still not taking the lead here. This is crazy. I mean, they are going so slow. It is going to be a kicker's race. Does this change anything? Who do we think this, plays into the hands of? Now it's Jaden Keeler's going on the outside here. Definitely going to be rooting for Keeler here, the University of North Dakota athlete who was a guest on the kick just last week. If you haven't listened to her episode, it's an incredible story. Jaden Keeler, the Canadian who now runs for the University of North Dakota, is moving up. She's into 5th. And Jane Hedegren is going to find her way to the front of the pack. Hedegren going to lead this thing. Clearly didn't really want to, but since it's so slow, figured she might as well take that position. It's Jane Hedegren in the front, Sophia Kennedy in 2nd, representing Stanford, and Doris Lemongole into 3rd. Jaden Keeler in a good position for about 6th right now. We'll be watching out for the girl in the Kelly Green singlet. Not a singlet you see at the national level very often. North Dakota, she's representing. She came in 10th last year, looking for top 8 and to get All-American this year. As this 5K slowly develops. This 5K is so slow that they have now cut to some highlights from today. They're showing some of the jump events and other things like that. As a distance fan, I don't like that, but it gives me a chance to engage with the live commenters here as they are not showing the 5K currently. Stigma says Habton probably has the best 5K, so talking about the men's 5K, yes, we will get that going shortly, but right now it is the women's 5K on the track, and they are out so slow. If I had to make my prediction, I still think that Doris Lemongole of Alabama is going to end up winning this thing. A lot of people think that a slow race plays into the hands of Jane Hedegren, as she does have a faster mile PR. But I've seen Doris outkick Jane. I don't think that Jane would be able to outkick Doris. I just don't see it. I think Doris has a great kick, even though she isn't, maybe a miler. She's got a great kick at the end of longer races like this. And she's got the experience on her side. She's won many of these races before, multi-time national champion. Jane Hedegren is the young superstar prodigy for BYU, and I know she's got a lot of winning ahead of her, but I don't know if that starts tonight. We shall see. So we can't even see what's going on in the race right now as they are recapping the women's long jump currently. Pretty typical of the distance events where they cut away from what's going on. And honestly, in this situation, can't really blame them considering how pedestrian the 5K was up until where they cut away from it. And finally, we're cutting back here. Jane Hedegren still in the lead. Sophia Kennedy in 3rd. Doris Lemongole in 3rd. Sophia Kennedy in 2nd. Doris Lemongole in 3rd. So Jane and Doris and Sophia Kennedy are your top 3 right now. I'd say that was pretty expected, but the pace at which they are going, maybe not as expected. This is going to be a slow one. It's a little bit painful to watch these incredible athletes going at such a pedestrian pace. You have to imagine things are going to turn up soon, but Jane is in no rush to do so. She's happy to lead at a slow pace, and the athletes behind her are happy to follow. Sophia Kennedy of Stanford looking smooth in that second position with Doris Lemon-Goulet in third. Doris is kind of running some extra distance here as she is on the outside of Sophia Kennedy. It would be nice if she could get on the rail here. She is running in the outside of lane 1 and basically in lane 2. That is some extra distance, but I don't think that will affect her considering how slow they're going here. It's not really going to hurt her to be running extra distance when the pace is this slow. Super tactical race here in the women's 5K. And it's pretty physical too, as these women are all kind of nervously jostling for position. They all are aware that it's slow and everybody's in it. No gap has been opened up. And it's not even a single file line. I mean, this is double file, 2x2, 2 rows of athletes all trying to gear up for when things are going to really pick up pace. And it still hasn't happened. We are 6.5 minutes into this thing. Jane Hedegren still leads. Sophia Kennedy right behind her on the rail in second, and it's Doris Lemon-Goulet on the outside shoulder of Kennedy. It's going to be a kicker's race, but the question is, who is the kicker? My money's got to be on Doris Lemon-Goulet. She's just so tough to beat. Even though Jane Hedegren is seen as the miler, I don't think that will mean that she can outkick Doris. Definitely rooting for Jaden Keeler here. She's towards the back of the pack now. Hopefully she's feeling all right. Jaden Keeler of the University of North Dakota, recent guest here on The Kick. Phenomenal story. Unfortunately, she has moved to the back of the pack. Again, anything can happen in these tactical races. Even the people in the back can have a reasonable shot. But this thing is just so slow. I think any second now, things should be picking up, as we are more than what I would expect to be halfway through the race time-wise, but they're not actually halfway through the distance. So it's Jane Hedegren leading this thing, reluctantly. 12 laps to go here. And now it's Jane Hedegren moving into second. Sophia Kennedy is dropping fast. The Stanford athlete is getting passed by every woman in this field right now. That is a surprise. Sophia Kennedy of Stanford looked so smooth and relaxed all race, but suddenly she is falling to the very back of the race. I can't imagine that that is intentional. So Sophia Kennedy from Stanford, unfortunately, slipping out of contention in this one. And it's the battle that everybody has waited for. Jane Hedegren of BYU, the phenom freshman, facing off with Doris Lemon-Goulet of Alabama. They are now at the front of this race and starting to turn things up. If you can leave a comment in the live chat, who's it going to be? Jane Hedegren or Doris Lemon-Goulet? Who you got? Cannot count out Pamela Kosgei either of New Mexico. She was the outdoor 5K champion last spring. So New Mexico's Pamela Kosgei in third. She knows that the narrative has been Hedegren and Doris Lemon-Goulet, but she doesn't care. She's running with a bit of a chip on her shoulder, knowing that she's been slept on. So that's our top three right now. Jane Hedegren in first, Doris Lemon-Goulet in second, and Pamela Kosgei in third. Still a relatively pedestrian pace for these women. Jane looking incredibly relaxed. There will be no meet record or no national record today. 9 laps to go with 9:50 on the clock. So just one more lap here before we get to that final mile. I am going to predict that in the final mile of this thing, those last 8 laps, that's when people are really going to go. Doris Lemon-Goulet has shown a tendency this season to like to leave things to that last mile of a 5K, and that's when she really pushes. Will she take the lead from Jane, though? So coming up here now, and it's going to be 1 mile to go. Jane Hedegren still in the lead. Doris in second. Pamela Kosgei in third. Whew. I mean, these championship 5Ks can tend to become very tactical kickers races. And that's what this one is. 7 laps to go. Now they're really turning it up. 1,400 meters to go. Jane Hedegren is starting to push the pace. I don't think that it would be possible for her to drop Doris even if she wanted to at this stage. So I really do think that it's going to come down to the last 400 or so. We've got predictions for Doris in the chat. We've got predictions for Jane. I'm going to stand by my original prediction for Doris to take this thing, but she is currently still in second. How long will she wait to make a move? Will she make a move? Jane Hedegren in the driver's seat. Doris in second. Pamela Kosgei in third. Those look to be the 3 athletes that are going to be the top 3, but what order will they fall? Sophia Kennedy is completely out of contention in this race. She's not even on screen anymore. I wonder if she dropped out. Really rough to see that happen from one of the favorites to be an All-American. But that kind of thing happens in the national championship. And now it's Pamela Kosgei making a move. Pamela Kosgei passing Doris, looking to pass Jane, but Jane is not letting that happen. Jane's picking up the pace here. Doris slides back into third, and it's Kosgei in second. Jane Hedegren still in the driver's seat. And they are approaching 4 laps to go. It's going to be the final 800 meters, and here they go. 800 to go. Jane Hedegren in the lead. Pamela Kosgei close behind. Clock hits 13 minutes here. They'll be able to run under 16 minutes for sure with how much they've picked up the pace, but man, it was a slow start to this one. So it's Jane Hedegren still in the lead. Doris isn't looking phenomenal in her form. Hopefully she has enough left to give it a good run. 3 laps to go here, and Jane Hedegren is really starting to wind things up. Jane Hedegren opening up a gap. Pamela Kosgei falls to third. Doris is now in second again. Jane Hedegren looks strong. Doris trying to reel her in, but a gap is opening. Jane Hedegren, the phenom freshman of BYU, is taking the lead here, but Doris is coming on strong. Can Doris close this down? 500 meters to go. Jane has opened up about a 10-meter gap. And that gap is staying about 10, 15 meters now, going into 400 to go. 2 laps to go, 400 meters. Doris Lemon-Goulet doing everything she can to try to close this gap. But Jane Hedegren does not look like she's going to be caught. Unless Doris has a crazy kick here, it is all Jane Hedegren. 300 to go. Doris doing everything she can to try to close this gap. It's not happening, though. And we are going to go into the bell lap, about a 15-meter lead for Jane Hedegren. BYU star freshman turning things up, and she will not be caught. Jane Hedegren is going to be your 5K national champion. It's just a matter of time here. Doris pretty much out of contention. Will not catch her. So Jane Hedegren coming down the home stretch. It won't be sub 15, but it doesn't matter because it's a national title 15 flat for the win. Jane Henegren is your women's 5K indoor national champion. And the crowd is on their feet in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Jane is all smiles, and now she is brought to tears of joy. Jane Henegren hugs her coach, Diljit Taylor of BYU. And it's an exchange between Jane Henegren and Diljit Taylor. Tears of joy. Diljit reminding Jane that she does need to go do the post-race interview for the broadcast, but a wonderful moment between coach and athlete here as Jane celebrates her first NCAA title here in the women's 5K. Tears of joy. Doris was not able to hang in those later laps. The two will face off again in the 3K tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see if maybe they make it a little faster than today. It was a tactical masterclass from Jane Henegren, the BYU freshman. So congratulations to Jane Henegren on her first national title, likely the first of many in the young freshman's career, depending on how long she stays in the NCAA. But the BYU freshman wins this thing and immediately finds her coach, Diljit Taylor, to exchange hugs and tears of joy. A special moment for Jane as she has won her first national title. And now Jane has finally made her way back to the infield to do the post-race interview. To recap those results, it was Jane Henegren in first. Pamela Kosgei did not catch. They have the results wrong here. They don't have Doris in the results on the live stream here, and it says that it's just Pamela Kosgei, but I did watch Doris Lemongole play second there. So we won't trust those results that they're showing right now. Hopefully they correct them soon. Congratulations to Jane Henegren on her first national title. Yeah, so Michaela comments, we need to know the last K's split, because for the finish to be 15 flat, she had to sprint those last laps. Yeah, I'd say around 7 laps to go, so 1,400 to go is when Jane really started to make it fast. And the fact that Doris just could not hang just shows how fast it was, because to drop Doris Lemongole of Alabama, one of the greatest NCAA women distance runners ever, she was moving. So I'm sure that will be a stat that people like to share, just how fast that last K was. So to recap, we'll go through our top 8 here, which is first team All-American for the women before the men's 5K gets underway. It's Jane Henegren in first with a 15 flat. It's Doris Lemongole in second. Diana Chirotich of the Oregon Ducks places third. Pamela Kosgei was fourth, so she got passed at the end there. Didn't even see that on screen. Hilda Olomomwe of Florida was fifth. Judy Chepkowicz was sixth. Edna Chalue of Eastern Kentucky was seventh. And rounding out the All-Americans was Joy Naucott of West Virginia. So those are your first team All-Americans. And we are going to be getting the men's 5K underway here in just a matter of seconds. Habtum Samuel on the line. Marco Langen of Villanova, the highly anticipated men's 5K national championship. Marco, your moment has come. They are showing him. He's looking relaxed, but you know he is ready to go after this thing. He's been talking about March for months. And he is standing there, spits on the track, asserting his place here. Race has not gotten underway yet. The men's 5K is currently on the line, ready to go. So the Princess V90 said Jaden Keeler beat Sophia Kennedy. Yeah, Sophia Kennedy fell back really far. I think she might have gotten last. Jaden Keeler, I don't think really had her best race though either. Ended up running 15:40. which is pretty fast considering how slow the race got out. Just wasn't able to hang. It was a kicker's race. Jaden Keeler's more like a 10K athlete, so it didn't benefit her to have it be such a tactical race. Men's 5K underway now, and we're going to be commentating this thing. Feel free to leave a live chat comment with who do you think is going to win, who are you rooting for. This is it, guys. Marquee event, men's 5K, Marco Langen, Hampton Samuel, Colton Sands. It's all going to happen right here, right now. Tavon Kitchen of BYU, the freshman, who often runs aggressive. Let's see, will this be as tactical as the women's 5K to start? It's looking pretty pedestrian to start, but we're only a little over a lap in. And what will they come through the 400 in? Let's see. So it's 400 and it's going to be around 65. So keeping it decently honest. And now all the men on the track are single file. We've got one athlete who wants to make this thing faster, and he is going to start opening up a bit of a gap on the field. Philly says, let's freaking go, Marco. Marco Langen is on the track right now, guys. He's been talking about this race for months, going after this win. He's currently sitting in about 8th place, but, you know, it's early. He's just getting a feel for things. Everybody in this field kind of feeling things out. Marco's running outside in lane 2. He's looking around right now, kind of showing he's feeling relaxed and smooth. So it's Rogers Kiplimo of Iowa State, who is the only athlete kind of trying to make this thing fast, but nobody is going with him. And I think he's realizing that as he looks back, and he might just fall back with the pack here. An interesting development here is that Hampton Samuel is in last place, obviously intentional at this stage in the race. He's just trying to keep his open space, not risk having any jostling. He is completely alone in his own bubble in the back right now, not having to deal with any of the pushing and shoving that can happen, avoiding any possibility of a fall. Hampton Samuel way back in last place on his own. He'll obviously have to make a move to change that soon, but right now, pace is pretty slow. Everybody kind of staying relaxed here. And we'll see how it develops. So everybody, last chance to leave your predictions in the live chat. Kyle says, how to watch for free. I'd say this is your best bet at watching for free. Cannot show the live video footage here on the Kick live. It's, copyright. What can you do? But ESPN Plus is how you're going to watch if you want to see the live video of the race. Other than that, you can look up live results and you can listen in here to the live commentary. We're bringing the highest energy in the game here. Kyle says Marco better win. Yeah, I mean, for his sake, he better win because he will be disappointed with anything less than a national title here. He'll have another shot at it tomorrow in the 3K, but he wants to win this thing. He wants to win this men's 5K. He wants to win both. He has put everything into this. And Hampton Samuel now makes a big move all the way from the back. He might just go to the front here. So Hampton Samuel was for a few laps in dead last, and now he's like, you know what? I'll lead this thing. He goes all the way to the front. Big surge. Wonder if that energy expenditure will come back to bite him. You never know. So Hampton Samuel of New Mexico, multi-time national champion, is now in the lead here. Followed by BYU's star freshman, Tavon Kitchen. Marco Langen is in the mix, but he's in about 5th right now. Colton Sands of UNC is 3rd. Andrew is predicting Marco Langen 1240. I can tell you that will not happen based on how fast they are running. They are not running a fast enough pace for a 1240, but all that matters to Marco is the win. Championship racing out here. Titles are more important than times. Jonas leaving a comment. Jonas, if there's something specific you want to know about the race, feel free to ask. But right now they are running a 5K and they have cut to the men's pole vault. So there is no updates to be given on what is going on the broadcast unless you want to know about pole vault. They're recapping that. But hopefully they will return to the men's 5K shortly, as we are about halfway through this thing. So yes, we are going to be commentating this men's 5K. If you're familiar with how these usually go, the middle laps can tend to be not much action, and I guess that's why they've cut away from the race. They are showing Ashton Barkdale of Kansas doing the pole vault right now. Hopefully they return to the 5K soon. Golden Cheetah says, talk about the race in detail. Absolutely, we'll do that when the race coverage returns here on ESPN+. They are currently following the pole vault right now, mid-race. Really appreciate everybody tuning in here. So Kyle wants to know if Marco Langen is going to move up or down. Yes, we will be talking about Marco Langen in detail when they return, and they are going to return now. So let's see. Nothing has really changed other than Marco Langen is back in about 8th right now. Tavon Kitchen in 2nd, Habtum Samuel in 3rd, and Iowa State runner Rogers Caplimo has regained the lead. So right now it's Caplimo in the lead, Tavon Kitchen in 2nd, Habtum Samuel in 3rd, Colton Sands in 4th. Marco is back in about 7th. We'll see how it develops. I mean, as we know, these championship 5Ks tend to be very tactical, just as the women's race was, and it's going to be a kicker's race. We'll see how it all develops in the later laps. 7 minutes into this one. Caplimo has done a lot of surging, trying to maybe inspire the field to pick up the pace, but nobody will really follow yet. I'm sure this race will pick up soon, though. So some people are asking for the sound of the race. No, yes, cannot do that, unfortunately. If you're a first-time viewer here on the live streams, that is not a capability that we have for these. Somebody commented, tell us about Marco, everything he does. Yeah, so Marco's in 7th right now. They're in a line, you know, pretty typical 5K here where everybody's still in the mix. It's Caplimo of Iowa State in the lead here. Tavon Kitchen, the freshman of BYU, is close behind him. Habtum Samuel in 3rd, Colton Sands in 4th. Marco is kind of stuck on the inside here. There's a lot of people who have moved out to lane 2, and he's kind of on the rail. So hopefully he doesn't get boxed in here. The pace is still manageable enough that he doesn't have to worry about it, but I can see that he's actively trying to get outside so that he's in a position to be able to strike when things do pick up. And now he does move outside. Marco gets some space, and he is out into 6th place now, running in lane 2. So he's got all the room in the world now if he would like to move up and advance his position, but he seems to be content in 6th place now. Caplimo of Iowa State leading this thing. Kitchen right behind him. And it looks like the pace is going to start picking up here. All right, guys. The race is going to start getting a little more exciting as these men start to pick up the pace. Marco Langen moving outside. Colton Sands takes an elbow all the way out into lane 3, and he was a little shaken by that, so he falls back a bit. Good to see that he's still on his feet, still running, though. Colton Sands, an athlete we definitely expect to be in the mix here. The Princess V90, thank you for your kind comment. I'll definitely be able to engage with the live chat a little bit more when this thing wraps up. But we've only got maybe 5 minutes left here as they approach 7 laps to go. Habtom Samuel taking this thing. The New Mexico star who has won many a national title is in the lead now. Marco Langen, he's moving up. Marco knows it's showtime now. Marco moves up into third. Colton Sands moving up as well. It's Habtom Samuel in the lead here. Kitchen of BYU falls back to 7th. Kitchen isn't looking super strong here. We'll see if he's able to remain in the mix for much longer. It's 6 laps to go now. 10:40 on the clock. Habtom Samuel turning this thing up. This is what we're all excited to see. How will this end up? Who's going to take it? Will Marco Langen make it happen? Habtom Samuel in the lead. Marco Langen is in third. For months, this is all we've heard about. He put a target on his back, he called a shot, and now he has to defend it. The crowd is getting on their feet here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Marco Langen is wide. He's winding up. Third place now for the Villanova Superstar 5K and 3K runner. He'll have the 3K tomorrow, but he doesn't care about that right now. He's trying to win this one. Colton Sands and Tavon Kitchen both look tired here as they've fallen back into 6th and 7th respectively. Habtom Samuel really turning this thing up. Could Habtom just win based on pure fitness alone here? Habtom Samuel turning this thing up. He's followed closely by 3 athletes, Marco Langen included. It's also Ernest Chariot and Helsinki Kipruto of Louisville. The pain is starting to show on Langen's face. He's going to give it everything he has, but I don't know if he's going to have what it takes to keep up with this hot pace that Habtom Samuel has now set. Marco Langen trying to swing wide, but he's in 4th. It's Habtom Samuel. 3 laps to go. Habtom continuing to just wind this thing up. He looks like he's going to be very hard to catch. 3 runners still attached to Habtom. It's Ernest Chariot, Helsinki Kipruto, and Marco Langen. Those are your top 4. Colton Sands is in 5th, but a gap has opened up between 4th and 5th. Can Colton close it? He's going to try here as they approach 2 laps to go. And now it's 400 meters to go. Habtom Samuel has the lead. They are flying right now on the Arkansas track. We've got a Razorback in 2nd, Ernest Chariot, trying to defend his home track, but it's still Habtom Samuel in the lead. Marco Langen in 4th. Marco needs to make a move now if he wants to win. Habtom Samuel in the lead. And they're approaching the bell. And they will hit the bell lap. Marco Langen surging. He's making a pass on the outside. Marco Langen into 3rd. He's chasing down Habtom Samuel. He's into 2nd. Habtom Samuel in the lead. But Marco Langen is starting to make his final surge. Coming down to the final 100 meters to go. Habtom Samuel holding off Marco. Will he get caught? Marco is giving everything he has, but it looks like Habtom will not be caught. Habtom Samuel of New Mexico wins this thing. Marco Langen, as always, gave his absolute all. Habtom celebrating. Marco Langen is going to be devastated by this one. All he wanted was a national title. He waited until the final lap to move up from 4th to 2nd. It's not enough. Marco Langen gave everything he had. I can't help but feel bad for the guy, knowing how badly he wanted a national title. Habtom Samuel wins again. He's won before. The Villanova superstar Marco Langen, who has talked about this race for months, gave absolutely everything he had going into the home stretch, but could not catch Habtom Samuel. And Marco's going to be disappointed with anything but a national title. He will have another chance in the 3K tomorrow, but he does not get it in the 5K. Wow. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. That was electric. Habtom Samuel of New Mexico wins. Marco Langen has talked about this for so long. Could not get the win. Habtom Samuel is enjoying this as he should. He has been celebrating, doing a bit of a victory lap. He's aware as much as anybody that Marco Langen has been talking his talk. Hampton a little bit on the quieter side, but he just proved it on the track. I mean, 13:36, the winning time for New Mexico's Hampton Samuel. Marco Langen also 13:36, but 0.4 behind him. My goodness, everybody. We had been waiting for this race for so long. Marco Langen takes second. Hampton Samuel wins it. What did we think? Do we think that Marco can get redemption and win the 3K tomorrow? I think he is going to be more determined than ever. He is so desperate for a national title. He wants it so bad, and he's clearly right there knocking on the door. He's ready, but it's a game of inches, and just coming down to that home stretch, Hampton wasn't going to be caught. Marco saved it for the final. I mean, he didn't lead any of the race. So Marco relied on the kick. He relied on that final lap. And the last 200 meters, he was moving. He advanced from fourth to second, but couldn't catch Hampton Samuel. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Let's recap those results beyond just the top two. So it was Samuel in first, Langen in second. Then it was Ernest Chariot, the home Arkansas Razorback, third place. Very solid result for him. Kip Bruto took fourth. Colton Sands was back in fifth. Rogers Kaplimo sixth. Dennis Kipnigenich in seventh. And Tavon Kitchen in eighth. So the BYU freshman does get first team All-American by the skin of his teeth. Congrats to him. That's an incredible result as a freshman, getting that top 8. So that's your top 8, your first team All-American. Really incredible run from Hampton Samuel to win that thing. Marco was doing everything he could to catch him, but just couldn't do it. We've got a comment in the chat from Jazz. D3 winner ran 13:35. Yeah, I mean, the times don't really matter in these championship races. So yeah, technically the D3 national title was won in a second faster. But all these guys can run much faster than the times they ran today. They qualified in times that were much faster than what they ran today. But in a championship race, it was tactical in the first few laps. It was pedestrian. They turned things up at the end, but yeah, that's all you can say, really. Philly says media likes people who are actually interesting. Yeah, credit to Marco. He kept things really interesting. A lot of people who are tuned in for this race right now are tuned in because of Marco. So love him or hate him, you can't help but watch. Hampton Samuel, he took this win. He's won a lot of national titles. You got to hand it to him. We'll see what happens in the 3K tomorrow. Marco will be returning to the track tomorrow. So yeah, the D3 winner is a bit controversial in the sense that it is Seth Clevenger, who transferred from Iowa State a few months ago. He's now in Division III and winning titles. So a lot of controversy there, as we all know. We'll see how that develops. But yeah, interesting storyline going on there. Wow. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Some phenomenal 5Ks, and we are right around the corner from the DMRs, highly anticipated DMRs. There's going to be a lot of athletes doubling back from mile prelims, 800 prelims earlier today, and the DMR will be the final event of the night. Obviously, a super exciting one. Who will take it on the women's side? Who will take it on the men's side? A lot of the comments in the live chat right now about Marco. It's true. I mean, he has been the center of a lot of attention, whether it be love or hate. He has been talking the talk. I would say today he walked the walk. It just wasn't quite enough to win. You can be really great. You can execute a race really well and still not win at this level. Marco was in fourth place going to the final 200, gave it all he had, could only move up to second. And maybe that's a lesson. When you've got a guy like Hampton Samuel, Hampton has been improving his close all season long. His kick has gotten better. And he's just a really difficult guy to catch. He's won so many titles. He's a great athlete. It's risky if you're going to leave it up to catching him in the final 200 meters. And Marco certainly gained on him. But it just too little too late. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in. If you're new here, this is The Kick, a runner's podcast. We normally have episodes with guests from every level of the sport. Some athletes who are competing in this meet have been guests on The Kick. So feel free to subscribe if it's your vibe. Listen on Spotify, right here on YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. Appreciate you. We're also on Instagram at The Kick Podcast. Some great exclusive content there on the Instagram. Feel free to follow. But we are going to be commentating the rest of the night here for this meet. The DMR is going to be electric on both the women's and men's side. Super excited to see that. We reached peak viewership during those 5Ks. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. We've had over 2,000 viewers thus far. About 70 viewers currently, it looks like. But a lot of people obviously in and out for the events that they are most interested in. So really appreciate you for hopping in. If you have other runner friends who don't have ESPN Plus and can't watch the race, feel free to send them this link. It's the next best thing. Give us a like so that more people can find us here on YouTube. Give us a sub, whatever you got. It's all free, so that's what we got here. So Brian comments, Marco will never win NCAA. I mean, there's a very real likelihood that that could be the case, that Marco Langen never wins an NCAA title. It's very difficult to win an NCAA title, and even some of the best runners in college will not have one to their name. But being as Marco is so determined to win one, I can't help but think maybe he'll get one. You know, he's got the 3K tomorrow. Will he take that? What do we think is going to happen in that 3K? Both women's and men's, because Doris Lemongole lost to Jane Hedegren in the 5K today on the women's side, and I don't know, will that happen again tomorrow? Will Jane win that one too? I feel like Doris is going to come prepared to maybe make it a little faster tomorrow. You know, the women's 5K was pretty pedestrian early on, and it seems like that played into the hands of Jane Hedegren. So if you're able to leave a live chat, we have had a ton of great comments in the live chat today. Feel free to share what you think is going to happen tomorrow, how you think it's all going to go down. Will Marco win on the men's side? I don't know. Jazz says Jane will smoke her again, so in reference to Doris. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of faith in Doris. She's won so many national titles, and she knows what she's doing. She's super fit, just like Jane, and she's got that experience. But maybe today, maybe this was the confidence boost that Jane needed to be like, yeah, I am the new best in college, and I'm the woman to beat. But I'm not totally convinced that it won't be a good race tomorrow in the women's 3K. I think it will be something that Doris is probably a little bit closer than she was today in the women's 5K, if not taking the title for herself. Jazz says, let's go Oregon. So Jazz, are you you're an Oregon Ducks fan? That's pretty cool. It's a pretty great team to be a fan of. I was at the national championships outdoors the last 2 years in Oregon, and yeah, I mean it is Tracktown USA over there. We'll see how they fare in the DMR. Who won the women's 200? So the women's 200 prelims is going on, 47 Kelly. So I'll update you on that. We focus more on the distance events here. So let's take a quick pivot just to answer your question about the women's 200. So the women's 200 meter prelims are still going on. The fastest time thus far is Texas A&M's Cameron Dixon, 22.72 out of Heat 2. So there's your update there. If there's any athlete you're looking for in particular on the women's 200, let me know, and I'll let you know how their result turned out. But yeah, they're wrapping up the women's 200, and we are going to get into the DMRs right after this final heat. So Jazz comments, I think Colin Salmon may be the best in the 3K. Yeah, I mean, that's dangerous for Marco eyeing that 3K title tomorrow. You've got Colin Salmon in the way. I mean, Salmon is putting all his chips on the table for the 3K. He scratched from the 800 meter. He's the NCAA record holder in the 800 meter, and he scratched. That's crazy. Of course, he will be likely running the DMR tonight for sure. Colin Solomon will probably be anchoring the NAU men's DMR tonight. So I guess they wanted him to be fresh for that, and he scratched the 800. Colin Solomon has ridiculous range. I mean, he can run everything. So got to pick and choose sometimes, and he chose the DMR and the 3K. So super interesting there. He'll be a tough guy to beat in the 3K tomorrow. I think he might just make the 3K super fast tomorrow. I think the 3Ks on both the women's and men's side will be faster tomorrow. I think the 5Ks were on the tactical side, on the slower side, and I think that'll change for the 3K because they won't have events ahead of them at that point. So it's kind of like leave it all on the track. Thank you again to the 2,000 plus viewers that we've had come in and out thus far tonight. We've been live for almost 3 hours, and we're still going. Excited for these DMRs. We've got 45 people in here right now. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe. It's all free. And leave a comment in the live chat to keep this thing super fun for both of us. Brian says that Brian Massow is coming for the outdoor 5K. Yeah, Massow's a tough guy to beat. Tough guy to beat. He was the 5K champion indoors last year. Not in this year's iteration of the indoor NCAA championship. So, Jazz asks, what leg do you think Colin Solomon is running in the DMR? I think he'll be running the anchor, the 1600 leg. I mean, he's the best bet you have. In the DMR, you want to put your best guy in the last leg, and he's that guy. Could he run a great 800? Yeah. Could he run a great 1200? Sure. But you're not going to open up a big enough gap in those earlier legs in the DMR to win. DMR gets won in the 1600 leg. So you're going to put your best guy there. And it's going to be a showdown from some of the best milers in the NCAA. Excited to see UVA. Assuming Gary Martin will probably be on the anchor there. Yeah, I mean, you got it. The DMR is a fun event, but it's the 1600 where it gets won and lost. You want to have a clean first 3 legs. You want to be in a good position. You don't want any huge gaps to make it hard for your anchor leg, but even if the gap is a couple seconds, really doesn't mean much going into the anchor. Jazz asks, is his brother healthy? I don't know. Can't answer that one. Maybe somebody else in the live chat is more familiar with the health and status of his brother. So we are still in the 200 meter prelims right now. We had somebody in the chat asking about how that is going. So I can update you that Ford of South Carolina is currently sitting in first now with a 22.54. Gonna take this chance to thank everybody for hopping in today. I think we're setting a new record for viewership on the Kick. Every live stream we've done for any meet thus far, we've continued to raise the bar and set a new record. So really appreciate that. Annalise says you're such a good commentator. Appreciate that. Do my best. But it's really all of you guys who make it a lot more fun for me in the live chat. The running community is a special community. It really is, a community where everybody can contribute. And I love that feature of the live streams that we're able to have a conversation. We're able to experience track and field together. It's pretty cool. So I appreciate any of the kind comments tonight. Means a lot. Subscribe if it's your vibe. We're on the road to 100 subscribers here on YouTube. Most of our audience is on Instagram at the Kick Podcast, and most of our listeners of the podcast are on Spotify. But here on YouTube, we have a lot of great content here, and you can listen to the full podcasts on YouTube as well. I actually like doing that for a lot of my podcasts because I like having the video feature. Spotify has that now too, and I think Apple Podcast is adding that. All right, we've got some chats and live chat. It's getting juicy. The Princess V90 says, I think Michigan could win the DMR with Trent McFarland as the anchor. That has been a popular pick, and a lot of predictions leading up to the meet, I've seen Michigan as the predicted winner. Certainly have a chance. Trent McFarland has been phenomenal. And yeah, that'd be cool to see the Michigan Wolverines mix it up at the front. Brian John says, I missed most of your stream, but I really enjoy your videos. That was a crazy 5,000. I hope Marco wins tomorrow for the 3,000. I really enjoyed listening to your videos. Wow. Brian, appreciate you. I know you're a big supporter of the channel and the podcast, so that means a lot. But yeah, the 5K was crazy. Marco did everything he could. I don't know if you were able to watch the video, if you saw it, but just to recap, he was in fourth going into the bell lap. He made a strong move. He moved up into second, but he couldn't catch Habtom. It was too little too late. Valiant effort from Marco Langen, but at the end of the day, I think it was too little too late. Habtom is not a guy who can be caught with that big of a gap going into the bell. Marco didn't lead any of the race, so he definitely put his faith in his kick. Brian, John, thank you for the endorsement. Definitely appreciate it. I will say these live streams is where we gain the most amount of subscribers always. Last time we were live for the USA Indoor Championships, gained a handful of subscribers there. And it really does help. It really does help a lot. So if you're able to do it, subscribe if it's your vibe. It's free. And we've got a lot of great episodes recently up. We've had a great week here on The Kick. We had Tegan Scheinbecker, a pro runner for the Brooks Beasts. She was on the show earlier this week. Great episode there. And then most recently, yesterday, we had Wes Porter, the UVA grad who is now taking the professional running world by storm. He ran 350 this year to win the BU Valentine invite. And Wes Porter is representing Under Armour. Phenomenal athlete on his way to big things. So definitely check out the recent episodes on the podcast. And if you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review on the show. It goes a long way in getting the podcast out there. Takes next to no time. I think you have to listen to like 30 seconds of the podcast to be able to leave a review for the show. So we are going to be commentating and reacting live, super in-depth for the DMRs, which are coming up shortly. I think the meet is a couple minutes behind. They're still on the men's 200 prelims. The women's DMR should be on the track in about 10 minutes. So really excited for that. Hopefully all the athletes competing here in the 200 meter are able to have clean races. Nice thing about the 200 meters indoors and outdoors is that you're in your own lane the whole time, so unlikely to have any kind of issues with tripping or falling, which is nice for the sprinters. But yeah, just about 10 minutes away here from the DMRs. It's going to be the women up first. Highly anticipated distance medley relays. Really excited to see how those play out. Going to just shout out our top commenters today. Number one right now, again, this is all subject to change, but thus far, 3 hours into the live stream, we've got the Princess V90, our top commenter. Thank you. Golden Cheetah is second, and third is Zach the Runner. So really appreciate our top commenters here on The Kick. Brian John says, I just joined your live stream a couple minutes ago, but I was watching on ESPN earlier, and everything seemed to be at least 5 minutes behind. Yeah, okay. Thank you for confirming that. It has seemed like the meet is a little behind. I'm watching the ESPN Plus live stream and reacting live, but I can't hear the commentary, so I maybe they've been talking about it being behind. But yeah, well, appreciate you tuning into this even though you do have ESPN Plus. I think a lot of the listeners in here maybe do not have ESPN Plus, so this is a great opportunity to be able to share the live reactions of what's going on in the meet. So I'm very thankful that I'm able to provide that. I know a lot of people want to see the race footage. Believe me, wish I could do it. Not allowed. Copyright would take it down in an instant. And yeah, we follow the rules here on The Kick. We do follow the rules as best we can here on The Kick. So we're just going to be reacting live. We've got the DMRs coming up soon. We've had a super exciting meet thus far. One thing I want to check is earlier in the women's 800 meter, Haley Kitching of Penn State fell going into the final lap and she wasn't able to qualify. I wonder if she got a qualifier based on her protest. Does anybody know if Haley Kitching is advancing to the women's 800 meter final after her fall in the prelims? If anybody could confirm that, that would be awesome. I feel like maybe our guy to do that is Brian Johns. He says, I was freaking out when they kept showing the hurdles, and I was hoping that they would get to the women's 5,000. I'm so happy for Jane. Yeah, that was super annoying. In both the men's and women's 5K, they cut away from the race in the middle to show field events. And believe me, I think field events should absolutely be shown. It's just rough that they show them in the middle of a championship race. They definitely use the 5K as that event that they can show things in the middle of. And yeah, it's not my favorite, but I guess they have to do what they have to do on the broadcast. But yeah, I'm super interested to know if Haley Kitching, the Penn State middle distance star, was able to qualify and advance to the finals for the women's 800. She fell with about 220 meters to go, so just before the bell. She got up, finished the race, and actually finished really strong. Probably had the fastest 200 meters of anybody, but it was just too big of a gap for her to close. And I'm certain that she protested what happened, but I don't know if that her fall was caused by somebody impeding, and causing the fall, or if it was just she tripped over her own feet. We will see. I know she was angry and upset coming off the line. You could visibly see her not happy, but yeah, it'd be great to see her in the final. She's definitely somebody who would be in contention to win. So hopefully Haley Kitching makes it to the women's 800 final. But things like that happen. That's why they run the prelims. It's not always going to be the top times that make it. Sometimes crazy things happen in the prelims. But wow. 5Ks, I'm still not over them. Congrats to Jane Hennegren and Hampton Samuel on the wins, on the national titles. Honestly, if I had to predict who I thought was going to win, those were two that definitely could, but I would have gone Doris on the women's side, and I would have gone Marco on the men's side. So some surprises for sure. Okay, thank you. The Princess V90 updating us on Haley Kitching. I don't think that she's advancing. The PDF only says 8 runners. Yeah. So I have the live results pulled up here as well as the ESPN live stream. And it's not reflecting that she has been pushed through to advance. But there is a chance sometimes these things take a little while to figure out as the meet is going on. Sometimes they don't confirm and accept the protests right away. But man, yeah, Haley Kitching experienced a rough fall in that one. Hopefully, she's going to be upset. If she doesn't advance, it's a bummer. I'm not sure if she has another season here. I know she's a senior, so I don't know if she'll have another indoor campaign. But it's rough. You only get so many chances in the NCAA. Cole Armstrong comments, what happened to Ahmad Robinson? I am not familiar. I'm guessing that it is somebody, maybe a sprinter, not in a distance event. Again, I don't follow the sprints as close. So let me check. Was Robinson in the 200 meters? Oh, the princess knows more than me. Confirms that he graduated last year. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't follow the sprint super close. Leo says I'm calling an NCAA record in the DMR. Can you confirm if you mean the women's DMR or the men's DMR? Maybe you mean both. Yeah, definitely could see a collegiate record there. That'd be exciting. Yeah, the DMR is coming up in just about 5 minutes as we wrap up the prelims of the men's 200. It's going to be the women's DMR up first. Oh, and okay, so Robinson actually is still in college. He just did not finish. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's not injured. It's rough. Anytime you see a DNF, does raise some concern. So DMR is coming up very soon. We've got the women's up first. We have Leo in the comments predicting that there's going to be an NCAA record. Definitely could happen. I think it's tough to predict who's going to win. That's what's so cool about the DMR. It's at the end of day one. Most of the teams have people who are doubling back from events earlier in the day. You know, it's all about the team. I love when it's all about the team, when people are running for something bigger than themselves. Pretty cool. Yeah, so bringing up Robinson, he is listed in the 4x4 for Texas A&M, so hopefully he's not hurt. He did not finish in the 200, so we'll see. RC comments, who will BYU run in the DMR? Will we get a surprise with Jane running the 1200 leg? Hutchins is not on the roster. Yeah, so Jenna Hutchins is not on the roster. We'll see her in the 3K tomorrow. But for the DMR for BYU, can you imagine Jane Hennegren taking on the 1200 leg? I don't know. It could happen. BYU is just so deep that I feel like you might, if you're Diljit Taylor, you might just be like, you know what? We're going to rest the freshman. She's got the 3K tomorrow. She just won the 5K today. Maybe we rest Jane. They could win the DMR without her. Now, I'm not saying they're going to. They've got a lot of pieces. Obviously, they have the collegiate record holder in the mile, Riley Chamberlain. I don't know that they're going to run her, though, because she's going to be gearing up for the mile final tomorrow. There's so many ways. The BYU women's roster for the DMR is a super intriguing one to follow. Who will they run? You know, will Jane be in it? I don't know. Just about an hour ago, she won the 5K. She's got the 3K tomorrow. We shall see. The Princess V90 says Ahmad is so rad in the 4x400 relay. I'm a fan. I mean, the 4x4, it's got to be the most fun event to watch in track. You know, I'm a distance guy saying that. It's just, you can't beat the energy of the 4x4. So, yeah. Texas A&M, always a school that shows up, and I guess Robinson is a key part in that. So, hopefully he's able to race. So, we're getting into the final heat of the men's 200 prelims, and we are just a couple minutes away from the women's DMR taking the track. The meet is about 5 minutes behind, which I'm sure anybody who's doubling back from earlier events is totally fine with having a little extra time to rest up and recover and prepare for this DMR. And I think we are going to see, again, a nice viewership spike here as we get into DMR time. We had a ton of viewers in here for the 5Ks. Feel free to send to your friends if they can't watch in person or on the ESPN Plus live stream. I'm watching on ESPN Plus. I'm going to be providing live, high-energy commentary and reactions. DMRs are just moments away here. Get your popcorn ready. It's DMR National Championship time. I mean, for fans of the sport, we follow this all year. When you get to the NCAA championship, it is something special. You know, day one, we didn't have many finals. It's a lot of prelims, like the 200's going on now. But we had two incredible finals in the 5K. And I know we're going to have two incredible finals in the women's and men's DMR coming up. And as we approach the DMR, we're getting some more viewers in here. Welcome, everybody. We've had over 2,400 viewers total in and out of the stream tonight. Peaked with the 5Ks, which were the only finals thus far tonight. But we've got the DMRs coming up, which will be finals in just about 2 minutes. The women's DMR will be taking the track. Brian John's comments in the live chat. I tried to sign off to see if I could find any information about Haley, and it just says that it's under review as far as I can see. Hope it gets approved for her to move through. That sucks so bad. Yeah. Thank you for doing a little research for us. Everybody, me included here in the chat, appreciates it. Haley Kitching, for those who don't know, Penn State women's 800-meter star, fell in the prelims, did not qualify, made a really valiant effort to try to catch the field at the end, but didn't quite get there. So a protest was made, and we'll see. It seems like, according to what Brian just found, is that it's still under review. I think we'll find out within the next hour if Haley Kitching will be advancing to the women's 800-meter final tomorrow. All right. Women's DMR is set to take the track. Let's see who everybody fields in their lineup. It's always exciting to see who's doubling back, who's coming in fresh, who's running which leg. Again, the DMR is obviously a race that is won or lost in the anchor, with the most consequential leg being the 1600. But that doesn't mean these first three legs don't matter. They want to get through clean handoffs in good positions. And it's going to be BYU's 1200 is going to be Taylor Rohatinsky. And I think Jenna Hutchins is going to be anchoring. Somebody earlier said that she's not on the DMR roster, but it appears like she is running the 1600 leg here. So no Jane Henningren and no Riley Chamberlain for BYU in this DMR. We'll see how they're able to fare. Arkansas, the home team, is going to be dangerous. I believe they have Sydney Vaught on the anchor. So we shall see. And then, of course, Oklahoma State has Billa Jepkrui, who beat Jane Henningren at the conference championship. All right, DMR underway for the women. Sydney Mascarelli with the baton for UNC. UNC, certainly a team to watch here. They've got my friend Vera Huaberry, who I was teammates with for 4 years at BU before she transferred to University of North Carolina. So excited to see how she'll fare. She'll be anchoring the Tar Heels in this one. Sydney Mascarelli, obviously a great first leg on that 1200. We'll see how she fares. She had the early lead there, but now she's going to give it up and slide back into about third. So 1200 leg is on the track. They're about 300 meters in, and excited to see how this all develops. RC says Oregon is the favorite. Yeah, Oregon absolutely a favorite. I mean, they kind of own the DMR, but there's a lot of teams in the mix here. Excited to see who Oregon runs. They've got so many milers who could anchor this thing. I think last year they had Solana Yildiz double back from her mile prelim. Will she do the same thing again tonight? Could be Wilma Nielsen. Could be Solana Yildiz. For the Ducks, it's probably a matter of who's feeling the best. And it looks like, just based on who I see standing in line for the remaining relay legs, it looks like Wilma Nielsen is going to be the Oregon Duck anchor. So, little note there. And Oregon is leading this thing now in the 1200 leg. So they are going to be a very dangerous team if Wilma Nielsen gets the baton in first. It's hard to imagine her being beaten. Brian John says, I love that Marco is all about the team because he could have easily decided to only focus on the 3,000, especially considering that he still does not have a title yet, but he wants all the smoke. Brian, great point there. I think Marco choosing to do both the 5K and 3K, it does show caring about Villanova and his team, because if really your whole thing is wanting a national title, which of course he does, he's talked about it endlessly, but if you really wanted to focus on one, that's what you would do. So credit to him for doubling. Hopefully he's able to run the 3K tomorrow, even though he's not fresh. Hopefully he's able to run it strong. He's going to have guys like Colin Solomon who don't have a 5K or an 800 under their legs. You know, Solomon's going to run in the DMR for the men here coming up for NAU, but can imagine that Marco is definitely going to have a little bit of fatigue going into the 3K tomorrow. But how cool would it be if he would make it happen despite the 5K the day before? All right, so it's Oregon in the lead here on this 1,200 leg, trying to open up as big of a gap as they can. And they are going to pass the baton to the 400-meter leg in first with a solid lead. University of Washington athlete on the 1,200-meter fell at the line, but somehow nobody else went down, so that's good. She got the baton off to her teammate, and luckily nobody fell. 400-meter leg, always exciting to see how fast they transition into this. It's the least consequential leg of the DMR as far as being the shortest, so plays the smallest role, but it doesn't mean it's not important. And it's super cool how the DMR does blend sprints with the distance events. So Oregon's 400 leg is actually going to get passed here. So they had the lead going into the 1,200, but it's now Iowa State. Iowa State going to hand off in first. But look who it is running the 800 leg for the Oregon Ducks. It's Solana Yildiz. So what a third and fourth leg combo the Oregon Ducks are bringing to the table here. Solana Yildiz is going to run the 800-meter leg for the Ducks, and this is going to be really exciting to watch. So the whole field now is chasing Iowa State. And Iowa State's 800-meter leg is taking things out really hot, trying to keep her lead, and honestly, looking like she's trying to open up an even bigger gap. Solana Yildiz is not closing this gap at all. She's actually more so competing within the chase pack, and there's about 5 teams in the chase pack right now, jostling for position, jostling for second. Yildiz is seemingly just competing with them. So Iowa State out to a huge lead here, and it looks like they might be able to keep it. Sometimes the end of these 800 legs can get a little bit tired and things can change. So Iowa State trying to hold on to this about 15-meter lead. Solana Yildiz has slid back behind Washington and BYU. Yildiz is in fourth. She already has the mile prelim under her legs from earlier today. And, of course, she has the final tomorrow. But shout out to her for giving it her all here. And now the chase pack is starting to catch up to Iowa State. It's BYU leading the charge in that chase. BYU is going to actually pass Iowa State here going into the home stretch, but it's basically 4 teams all even, handing off for the 1,600-meter leg. It's Iowa State, BYU, Washington, and Oregon pretty much even going into the 1,600. And all of these women have to be thinking that Wilma Nielsen is dangerous. So how will they approach this? We've got 4 teams in the mix at the front, Oregon being one of them, and they've got Wilma Nielsen, who for many is the best miler in the NCAA. Will she be able to navigate this and get the win for her Ducks? She's got the mile tomorrow. It's interesting to see that BYU did not double back Riley Chamberlain or Jane Hedingren. Riley Chamberlain does have the NCAA record in the mile right now, but for those who followed that race, Wilma Nielsen was right behind her, and honestly, maybe could have beaten her if she hadn't run so fast to stick with the pro, Ellie St. Pierre, early on in the race for that 4:17 pace that they were running. So Wilma Nielsen, obviously she won last year in the mile. She's one of the best milers ever in the NCAA, and she is now in third as these four teams are competing here in the final leg of the DMR. Not going super fast, and the chase pack is starting to close the gap on them, but these four teams will probably still be the favorites to win this thing because they're going to have more energy than the chase pack that's catching them. But a name to watch who is gaining right now is UNC's Vera Huaberry. Vera was second outdoors in the 5K last year, and she's got great miler speed. She'll be in the 3K tomorrow. Super versatile. She is my teammate and good friend from Boston University. She's doing her grad year at UNC now, so I will be fully transparent in saying that I'm rooting for Vera to succeed here, as she has closed the gap on the leaders, as well as a handful of other teams, as these 1600 liter legs are not running super fast right now. And you can't blame them. If you're in a position like Wilma Nielsen, you don't want this to be super fast. You've got the mile final tomorrow. You would like to win this in the easiest way possible. So every team really in the thick of this now. It's Julia David-Smith for Washington. Super strong athlete there. She is looking good along with Wilma Nielsen of Oregon. Iowa State still in the mix. BYU is actually falling back a bit. I'm not familiar with the woman that they have on their anchor. Iowa State trips on the rail, does not go down, but loses a few strides, works to get back into this thing. Julia David-Smith is leading this thing for Washington. Vera Huaberry on the outside, moving up. She's dangerous. You've got Wilma Nielsen of Oregon in the mix here. This is going to be an exciting finish for the women's DMR. We've got a comment in the live chat saying BYU has the slowest miler. Yeah, I'm not familiar with her, but she still seems to be running pretty smooth. And she did have the advantage of starting ahead of a lot of these women. So we'll see what she has left. But BYU is currently way back in about 8th. And Wilma Nielsen takes the lead now over Washington's Julia David-Smith. Vera Huaberry of UNC keeping the Tar Heels in this thing. And they are going to wind this thing up now. 1 lap to go. It's the bell. Wilma Nielsen of Oregon in the lead. El Badra of South Carolina has brought her team back into this thing. Can you imagine? Salma El Badra has brought South Carolina into this thing. I don't think she'll be able to catch Wilma Nielsen. Her team wasn't even really in this thing until the very end. Wilma Nielsen coming into the home stretch. She's going to win this thing for the Ducks. She's got it. What a run for Oregon. Credit to South Carolina for taking second. Excited to see what Al Badra split there on the anchor. She'll be in the 3K tomorrow. And now it's the Ducks celebrating post-race. Wilma Nielsen reunites with Solana Yildiz. What a team effort. Both Yildiz and Nielsen ran earlier today in the mile prelims. And they put it all on the line for their team to get the DMR win. Super impressive. Yildiz on the 800 leg. Moves up so that Wilma Nielsen is in a position to go win. And she does. And it's all smiles for the Oregon Ducks. Shout out to Al Badra of South Carolina for bringing her squad back into this thing. I wasn't even paying attention to South Carolina for the longest time because they were not in the picture. And shout out also to Florida. That must have been Stegall, the star freshman, on the anchor because they moved up into 4th. BYU falls back into 6th. Unfortunately, Vera of North Carolina was not able to close things out super strong. They placed 9th. So it's Oregon with the women's DMR win. And they are going to be interviewed on the broadcast now. They are all smiles. Obviously, as always with the DMR, a lot of credit has to go to the anchor, Wilma Nielsen, one of the greatest NCAA milers of all time. She came through for her Ducks there. Solana Yildiz also doubling back from the prelims in the mile earlier, runs a strong 800. Brian John says, I'm from Boston, bro. Hey, yeah, I lived there for 5 years. I did a 5th year. I was on the Boston University cross country and track team, so just graduated less than a year ago. Love Boston, love BU. Go Dogs. Scary comments. Who were UNC other legs? I don't know who the other legs were for UNC other than Sydney Mascarelli opened things up for the 1200, and then Vera Huaberry closed things down with the 1600. I don't think Michaela Page was the 800 leg. I feel like I would have noticed that. But yeah, didn't turn out so well for UNC. It definitely, they would have hoped for more than 9th. I can tell you that. The Princess V90 says 426 mile anchor by South Carolina, the fastest split. Yeah, that was Salma Al-Badra, and that was an incredible anchor. Shout out to her. She took her team from the back to the almost front. They weren't even in the picture, like on the broadcast, until the last lap when Al-Badra moved up into 2nd. So great race there. She'll be in the 3K tomorrow. Certainly a dangerous entry there. One of the favorites to win. Jazz says, OMG, you went to Westfield. My cross-country teammate in college also went there before your time. Hey, I'd love to hear who it is if you don't mind sharing. Yes, so I ran for Westfield High School and then went to Boston University to continue my cross-country and track career. I'd be curious to hear who it is because Westfield, we do have a very strong history, and I bet you I do know of your teammate if they were a Blue Devil once. Because once a Blue Devil, always a Blue Devil. I'll DM you? Okay, appreciate it. I'll check it out later. But yeah, go Blue Devils. All right, so men's DMR is going to be underway in just a second. They're taking the track. Oregon looking to sweep and get the men's title as well. They'll have Simeon Birnbaum, Elliott Cook, Thomas Palfrey. Definitely a favorite to win on the men's side too. But we've got teams like Michigan, who a lot of people are excited about. Trent McFarland, presumably anchoring the Wolverines. And we are underway here. The men's DMR. The home team, Arkansas, is represented here. How will they fare? Razorbacks looking to defend their home track. They've won a lot of team titles. Will this meet be any different? Taking a look here at the 1200 legs. They're showing the backs of the athletes right now. It's a little tough to see who's who, but I can tell that NAU is in the lead right now, and Virginia Tech in 2nd. Virginia Tech will be a team to watch. George Cootie will likely be on the anchor for them. Phoenix comments, Marco rolled. A lot of people have been saying that Marco Langen is rolled. I don't know. He's a controversial athlete, and I think a lot of people like to hate on him. But, I mean, you got to hand it to him. He ran a great race today. Ended up with 2nd. Obviously, he'd been talking about all that matters is that he wins. He didn't win, but a valiant effort. Came in 2nd, and he'll have another shot at things tomorrow in the 3K to try to get himself a national title. So NAU leading this thing in the 1200, trying to open up a gap here, and their athlete will do so with about a 1 second gap on the field, 600 meters into this thing. Virginia Tech is in 2nd. Michigan is trying to move their way up. They were in about 5th, and their athlete looks like they want to move up, knowing that they'll have Trent McFarland on the anchor most likely, and wanting to give him the best shot at things. But it is NAU with a big lead here. NAU will be a tough team to beat. They've got Colin Solomon, I'm guessing, on the anchor leg in the 1600. So if they were somehow able to keep this lead for the first 3 legs, I think they're going to have to be the favorite to win. NAU running a really strong 1200 meter leg, approaching the bell lap with about a 2-second gap on the field. Michigan now in second, trying to close this gap. And this is one of the most strung out 1200 meter DMR national championships I have ever seen. It's usually much closer in the 1200. This is crazy how big of a gap NAU and Michigan have opened on the field. So NAU going to pass the baton at about 2:47, and Michigan closes the gap pretty well, and they are about even going into the 400 meter leg. Maybe about a half a second lead for NAU. NAU, a school known for their distance runners and cross-country history. So we'll see how their 400 meter leg will fare here with the lead. It's NAU in the lead here. Michigan in second, and the home team Arkansas in third. It's going to be close going into the 800 leg here, as Michigan has caught up to NAU. They are even at the exchange. NAU and Michigan going into the 800 leg are tied. Michigan will take the back seat and follow. NAU leading still. Arkansas right back into the mix on Michigan's shoulder. And it's 800 meter time here in the men's DMR at the 2026 Indoor National Championships, as these teams are gearing up to hand off their batons in the best position they can to their anchor 1600 meter legs. Oregon, very far back right now. They are out of the picture completely. Now I'm starting to think something might have happened to Oregon, because they are not on screen at all. Did they drop out? I think that the Oregon Ducks might not be in this race anymore. It's NAU in the lead, Michigan in second, Arkansas in third, Wisconsin making a strong move to fourth with a great 800 meter leg thus far for the Badgers. Oregon is nowhere to be found. I think they might have dropped out of this race. There was no visible fall or dropping of a baton, but that could have happened, and it might just have been off camera as we were following the leaders here. On camera, it's really just NAU and Michigan. So interested to then go back and see what actually happened to Oregon there, what took them out of this thing. But disappointing. I believe it was Simeon Birnbaum who was going to be anchoring this thing, and he was really eager to give his team a shot at a national title. I don't know that they are any longer in the mix. Going into the 1600 meter leg, it is still NAU, Michigan right on them. So we'll see how this all plays out. It's Colin Solomon versus Trent McFarland here in the men's DMR anchor. And neither of them really had any advantage on the other. Solomon got the stick with maybe a half-second lead, but Trent McFarland is right on him. And sometimes it can be an advantage to be in second here on these relay anchors. You get to kind of just follow, let the leader do the work, and then strike when you feel is best. Solomon is going to make this pretty slow now. Solomon is out slow enough that now everybody is getting back into this race. Wisconsin isn't having it. They want this thing to be a little faster. Wisconsin takes the lead. So it's now NAU in second, Michigan in third, sitting behind Wisconsin. And Solomon and McFarland content to just sit behind the leader here. Both of these athletes are racing in events that are tomorrow, so they are happy to not push this thing too hard. But this will allow a lot of teams back into the mix. And now I'm starting to see that Oregon is still on the track. They're about 50 meters back. It must be Simeon Birnbaum on their anchor. Can you imagine if he was able to close this gap? If these leaders make it slow enough, there is a chance that Birnbaum could get back into it. But it is, I cannot stress enough how big of a gap this is. It is about 50 meters, so about a quarter of the track. So Birnbaum maybe just racing to try to get his team some points here. But you have to think these lead team coaches are telling their athletes, look, don't make it too slow. Don't be too conservative here because you're going to let a lot of teams with some dangerous anchors back into the race. But I don't think Colin Solomon's very worried about that. He's the NCAA record holder in the 800. He can close with anybody. So I don't think he minds making it a kicker's race. Trent McFarland, though, right with him as well. And it's going to be the Badgers of Wisconsin leading this thing. Solomon of NAU in second. McFarland of Michigan in third. About 4 more teams, including Virginia Tech, Washington, Arkansas, and Colorado, are back into this thing. But their relay anchors are not only more tired than these leaders, but they're also not Colin Solomon and Trent McFarland. Simeon Birnbaum is now in frame. He's about 20 meters behind. Can you imagine if he were to catch this lead group? The lead pack consists of 7 teams. 8 teams. So he wants to get into that group to try to get his team some points. But it's an incredible gap that he's closed. I can't wait to see what Simeon Birnbaum's 1600 split is. He will no doubt have the fastest split in this entire race, given how far back he had to start. This will go down as one of the most incredible DMRs of all time if Simeon Birnbaum can do this. He has now latched onto the back of the pack, and he is making a pass. He has brought the Oregon Ducks from so far back into the mix here. They're going to have a lap to go in just a second. It's the bell. Simeon Birnbaum has brought the Oregon Ducks up into about 5th or 6th. The win is going to be between NAU's Colin Solomon and, you know what? It's going to be Colin Solomon no matter what. Solomon is throwing down a lethal kick here. He's celebrating before he even gets into the home stretch, pumping both fists towards the crowd. He knew he had it. Big celebration at the line for Colin Solomon. You don't mess with the 800 collegiate record holder. Colin Solomon wins the DMR for NAU, and they are going nuts right now. Colin Solomon celebrated going into the home stretch. He knew he had it. His kick is ridiculous. I don't know that anybody's going to be able to challenge him in the 3K tomorrow. This guy is on another level right now. Let's see how the rest of it ended up. Like I said, Simeon Birnbaum with a totally huge gap to try to close there, and he closed it pretty well. He does get his Ducks into scoring position. He finishes in 7th. I'm sure that Simeon Birnbaum had the fastest 1600 of that DMR, but it's only enough to get them 7th as they had such a big gap opened up on them early on. So what do you all think? Colin Solomon, dominant finish. Let's check back in with the live chat. Oregon is trying to win the indoor title with the women. They have a very good chance. Yeah, I think that was probably left earlier in the race. Oregon, they were out of it in the men's race. I wonder what happened if they had a fall or something because they were really far back going into 1600. The Princess V90 says, how is this so strung out already? Yeah, it was strung out really early. Credit to NAU's 1200 leg. Really opened up a big lead, and that ended up paying off in the end. Jazz says maybe it was a ruse. Maybe Oregon saving their guys for the 3K. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, they made Simeon Birnbaum really work for things in that last 1600. So that'll definitely maybe leave a little fatigue for him as he'll be in the 3K tomorrow. They were very cagey about who was running the DMR. I agree. Yeah, Jazz says that Simeon really went for it. Yeah, he did. Really eager to see what Simeon Birnbaum's final 1600 what their anchor was for Oregon because, okay, so the Princess V90 says Simeon ran 352, by far the fastest split. Yeah. I mean, when I tell you Oregon was out of the picture, they weren't even on screen. going into the 1600 leg. I thought that maybe something happened and they had dropped out. But then little by little, I started to see the Simeon Birnbaum Oregon singlet start to make its way back into the frame. He runs 352. That's a super fast, valiant effort. It does get them into scoring position. It does get them 7th place. But, man, I wonder what happened in the middle legs for Oregon, because they were really way too far back to make it realistic for Simeon. Yeah, so the Princess V90 says Michigan ran the 3rd slowest split. Yeah, that's Trent McFarland. He did not break 4. Maybe not super expected, but he did run earlier today. He's got race tomorrow, so it's tough. It's tough when you're doubling, tripling. Definitely difficult. Brian John says that he heard it was a 24-second final lap for Colin Salmon. That's absurd. It looked like it. Colin Salmon comes down the home stretch celebrating already and closing in 24. This guy is dangerous. He has the collegiate record in the NCAA for the 800 meters. He'll be in the 3K tomorrow, so that 3K field better watch out for NAU's Colin Salmon. If you leave it up to the last 200 meters, I don't think anybody is catching Colin Salmon. We'll see if Marco Langen learns from today. He saved everything for that last 200 to try to win the 5K. It didn't work. I think that strategy would not work against Colin Salmon. In all honesty, Colin Salmon is winning that thing if he has the lead going into the last lap tomorrow in the 3K. He looked unbeatable in this DMR. To be celebrating in a national championship, going into the home stretch, firing up the crowd, he just knew that nobody was catching him. Maybe you could say, oh, he celebrated too early. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't celebrate until, you don't want to end up on a moments athletes celebrated too early compilation, but he didn't have anything to worry about. In all honesty, he was good. So Paul says, what happened to Archie in Wisconsin? So Wisconsin led a lot of the 1600 leg, but they did fall back a lot. I don't know if they fell or something bad happened, but they ended up not finishing the relay, which is really too bad. On screen, there was no visible disaster for the Badgers, but yeah, they didn't end up finishing. RC says whoever Oregon had on the 1200 blew up running 259. Okay, so it was the 1200 leg that cost Oregon. That's crazy. They were totally out of it for the whole middle portions of the DMR, so that makes sense. But they really made Simeon Birnbaum work way harder than he should have had to bring his team into scoring position. Brian says it's pretty insane that Colin decided to run the 3000. I was scratching my head there, but it will be interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the way Colin just ran that DMR would make you think, why wouldn't he have run the 800? Like, he seems unbeatable to close a 1624 and look smooth doing it. And then he's also, he has the 800 meter collegiate record. So it seems like the 800 would have made sense, but I get that the DMR 3K double allows you to be a little fresher than the 800 DMR double. So he has, today he was able to focus on the DMR. Tomorrow he'll focus on the 3K. And neither of those events have prelims, so it does allow you to be a little fresher. I still think Colin Salmon is the favorite maybe now to win the 3K, just seeing how he's running. We'll see how Marco is able to mix it up, but Colin Salmon's got incredible range. We know he has an incredible kick. They have to make the race really fast if they want any chance to beat Salmon. Marco, I think, should lead the thing. If he wants to win, he's got to lead. He's got to push it. There's just no way that he's out-kicking Colin Salmon in a tactical race. Gabs comments, the men's DMR results says under review. They have certainly celebrated NAU as the winners. I wonder what aspect is under review. It could be one of the later places, but Yeah, I wonder. Hopefully, nothing crazy happens in changing the results. The Princess V90 says, I don't criticize Colin's strategy now that he won the DMR. Yeah, I mean, when it works, it's hard to argue against it, right? I mean, NAU winning the DMR is pretty cool. Definitely a success for Colin Solomon there. We'll see how he fares in the 3K. Yeah. Brian says, Colin has a good shot at the 3K. And I can see your point. I want Marco to win. I love his bold personality. I got to say, I know a lot of people don't like him, but I'm rooting for Marco in the 3K. He wants it so badly. He is really good, and I'd like him to get a national title. I really would. I think he deserves one. He's clearly proven that he's at that level, but I just know how much it will hurt him for the rest of his life if he doesn't get an NCAA title individually to his name. Eliza says, I saw that the women's 5K said under review right after too. Strange. Yeah, sometimes these reviews don't really have anything to do with like the winner, but there can be protests for some of the other athletes. So yeah, I think, the national championship is a place where there's a lot of protests going on, whether it be about a fall or, it can really be anything, but sometimes they don't end up really affecting the main scoring results so much. We'll see, though. Definitely still interested to see if the women's 800 is adjusted to allow Haley Kitching in the finals. That'll be a storyline to follow for sure. If anybody, before we wrap up here on the day one live stream, as the racing action is in the books, if anybody can confirm Haley Kitching, did she advance to the women's 800 final via protest? What I'm seeing, the answer is unfortunately no, but I wonder if there are any further updates on her protest and if she will be advancing to the 800 finals. So ESPN Plus is wrapping up the live stream here, and the coverage has come to a close for day one. So with that, we will be wrapping up shortly here on The Kick. We'll take a couple minutes just to debrief and to say thank you for everybody for joining in here. If you have any final comments or questions or notes about any of these protests that are going on, feel free to share. I'll catch up with the final live chats that I see. RC says NAU had everyone fresh in the DMR. Yeah, and it worked. It worked. NAU brought a fresh team. They clearly wanted to win the DMR. You could just see it in the way they were running it. That 1200 leg, he opened things off hot. He tried to open up a big gap. He did open up a gap. So NAU just ran that thing so well. They didn't mess around with doubling people and having people, who weren't fresh. So credit to NAU. They put all their chips on the table for the DMR, and it paid off. RC also says Oregon had two guys run the mile, and Cook bombed that event. I wonder if he was also the 1200 leg. I wonder that too. Maybe it just wasn't Elliott Cook's day. I don't even know who was the 1200 leg for Oregon because they were totally out of it the whole time. If it was Elliott Cook, yeah, Cook had a rough day. I wonder if he's dealing with something. Who knows? But unexpected to see Oregon way out of the picture going into the anchor. Simeon Birnbaum salvaged something with his 352 anchor, but still, that gap was way too big for him to move into contention for the win. Would have been interesting if Birnbaum got the baton even with Colin Solomon. Who knows how that would have ended up. Something tells me Solomon could have still won that thing with that ridiculous 24-second close. Eliza says, thanks for doing this. Nice for us who don't have ESPN Plus. That is a very, very appreciated comment. Yeah, that's why I do it. I've got ESPN Plus. I'm able to enjoy watching, but it makes it even more fun to be able to enjoy it with the track community who is all very invested in the NCAA championships. So I appreciate you tuning in, Eliza. Yeah, I tried to provide for 4 hours the best commentary and live reactions I could. We only had 2 final events today with the men's and women's DMR and 5K. Tomorrow we'll have a lot more finals, so 99% sure we will be back here live. Just have to confirm a few things with my schedule, but I should be able to live stream the action tomorrow here for NCAA's Day 2. A lot more finals on deck there. Follow along on Instagram. That's where I'll post updates about, when we'll be live, if we'll be live. It's at the Kick Podcast on Instagram. And right here on YouTube, subscribe if it's your vibe. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So wherever you listen to your podcast, please follow the show, subscribe, leave a rating and review. It really goes a long way. This was an incredible success on the live stream, thanks to all of you. We reached nearly 3,000 views live. We might even get 3,000 views total in and out. So that's pretty awesome. Brian says, thank you for this. I subbed ESPN today for the race and still found your commentary way better than ESPN. Wow, that is much appreciated. Yeah, it's tough. I do think sometimes, like I said, I'll be the first to admit my commentary of the sprint events is going to be subpar just because of my lack of familiarity with the sprints. But for the distance events, I'm going to give 100% for every race, and it's super fun to share it with you. Annalise says, wow, you killed it. Appreciate that, Annalise. Doing my best. Really appreciate these final comments coming in here as we prepare to wrap things up. That must have been a lot of talking. Yeah, it was a lot of talking. About nearly 4 hours of being alive here on the Kick. So definitely going to get something to eat and recover and likely return for tomorrow's action. But thank you all for joining. Really appreciate all your comments, and like I said, if you can follow along wherever you're on social media with the Kick, it really helps a lot. I'm excited to see the subscribers we gained tonight. Usually we get a big boost with these live streams, and hopefully tonight will be no different. Maybe we can hit 100 subscribers on YouTube this weekend. Wouldn't that be cool? It would be thanks to all the viewers like you, and I do think we set a record tonight with viewership, so that's a win. Having everybody here in the chat is a win. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up. Excited to see what happens tomorrow. A lot of finals for the NCAA 2026 Indoor Championships. Feel free to leave a follow on Instagram. Leave a comment there. What do you think is going to happen? And yeah, really appreciate everybody for joining. With that, my name's Loggia. I'm the host of The Kick, a runner's podcast. I love running. I love a good kick, and I really appreciate everybody for your time tonight. Be safe. Have a good one.